Hello and welcome to Net That Haul. We're back for the Double Gameweek 25 Matchups show. I'm joined by my co-host Gabriel at FPLLens on X. I'm of course FPL Nima, and as you can see from the thumbnail, I wanted to let my hair down this week with the Haaland photo on the thumbnail. So really like this photo of him. I hope anyone who doesn't own him somehow yet is sitting there buying a new sofa for the weekend. So yeah, how are you doing, Gabe? I know today's maybe a chip strategy special, kind of, because I've put a triple captain in the thumbnail too. I know that you were obviously, as someone who's kind of wildcarded early, maybe looking at a bench boost potentially. So I think that would be a big topic today. Like, is it a double game week we should be using a chip in? And if so, which one? And what impact will that have on the rest of our chip strategies for the final bits of the season, right? So it's a really exciting episode. I feel like this is when the crunch time begins. This is when you make the gains in your rank. This is where the engaged managers set free from all the people who stopped logging in 6-7 weeks ago, hopefully. There's some ranks to be made here. They're against people who aren't playing, but there's still some gains to be made.
Or maybe your team is full of flags and they're just like holes to fall into. Who knows? Knowing FPL, it's probably the latter.
Yeah, it could be. But yeah, so quick couple of shout outs and then let's go straight to the FPL philosophy, and we'll put the messages up on the screen as we go throughout the day. But I think just to catch up on them, thank you all for your patience. So we've got Blue Danube Joe's in here first. Good afternoon, all. BW Splitter, one of our haulers. Howdy, buddy. We've got Sebastian Koo, another one of our YouTube members. Good to see you, buddy. Robert Ducky, he is back. Quackity quack, quack, quack. We need to get him back on the show at some point for sure. We got Fadil Khan. Good to see you, buddy, again. Anyone else? Just good. Val, good to see you, buddy. Double Gameweek 25, here we come. And then hey from BW Splitter. So yeah, we will obviously keep putting the stars on your questions as always, and in the live Q&A we will timestamp it. So if you can't see the whole show before deadline, and there's a short turnaround between now and 11 a.m. tomorrow morning, so feel free to kind of go to specific matches you're considering assets in, the summary slides with the data, captaincy metric, or the Q&A. So yeah, we're going to try and make it super useful today and relevant to all of you and your teams and your dilemmas, because I feel like whatever bed we make this week could have long-term connotations for the rest of our FPL seasons. But yeah, let's go into the philosophy, I think, from there, which despite us being late to go live, I think it's good. 2 minutes 30 getting to the philosophy. It's not bad. I think it can only get better from here.
Well, we're making up time now, but we'll surely lose it later. FPL philosophy for Game Week 25. This one is dedicated to FPL to Mariner, because Chris always says that the philosophies always have him stumped and like more confused than he felt like before the philosophy. So this one's for him. Being a philosopher, I have a problem for every solution, is the quote from Robert Zend. And the way I'm applying this, I guess, to FPL is that's kind of how like we go through our decision-making process, right? Like the one answer leads to the next question kind of thing. But you could do that forever. Like and you can go around in circles, and you can go off tangents and off ledges and off friggin' planks and shit like that. But whoops, sorry, under 5 minutes, threw a word in there.
No, it's good. The minute is the worst. Under a minute is where it's the worst.
Under a minute. Okay, so we're safe.
Yeah.
But like you said, this is chip season, and at a certain point, you make your bed, and you have to lie in it, and that was the case for me. I did wildcard early, and the plan was to bench boost this game week, and all of a sudden I'm looking at my team and it has 3 flags. I mean, I'd have to take a hit to cover like all my players to bench boost. I do have 2 free transfers. But then you have to think like, well, if the hit wasn't really the plan, and is it really worth it? So, it's good to bring a problem for every solution. Problems will always come up, but at a certain point in time, you just have to like float down the canal that you've made.
Yeah, no, I think so. And it's funny because when I hear the word solution, I cringe a little bit, just because in my previous role, I used to call myself like head of solution design. That was on my business card. So it's just a very vague way of thinking, I guess, because there is always a solution for everything, right? So I totally agree with Robert's end here. I wouldn't call myself a philosopher. That part I don't agree with. But I do feel that it's more like I have a problem for every solution a lot of the time, because how can there be a solution without the problem first? So for me, it's like I told you the way I'm managing FPL and how it relates to that. to go back into this way of thinking, is that I'm always looking at an out list. I don't really have a watch list, I mentioned to you. So I'm looking at my 15 players and which one is on the chopping blocks. Who do I want to get rid of? So I'm only really interested in assets that would replace the people in my out list, and therefore I have a problem, right? So for these problems, the solutions are the transfers I'm buying in, but I try to not look for the solution first, because then I can be led, right? I'd rather actually see the problem, then get rid. So like a Blanca, that's a problem. Not having double game weekers, that's a problem. Injured players, that's a problem. Then I look for the solution. So I love it. Yeah, I love it, honestly. But yeah, let's. I think that was quite fun. But let's keep going. 5 minutes 50. We're going to get to the first matchup, which is again going well, I think. We will try and make this one a bit shorter than usual as well, because obviously there's not much time to digest it before deadline. So Brentford versus Liverpool, 6 minutes in. Here we go, baby. So Liverpool have a 1.76 net XG to Brentford's 1.27. I know that this week, just to kind of put the statement out there, because the summary slides at the end, there doesn't seem to be a net XG below 1. So kind of clean sheets aren't looking very good. So just to give that context at the beginning as we go through, there doesn't seem to be anywhere where the net XG is less than a goal for any team to score, I think. That's what I saw, but maybe I'm right or wrong. I don't know. You let me know.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
okay.
there's no all net XGs are over 1 this game week. So yeah, we're not expecting many, if any, clean sheets. And full disclosure, I am a little bit out of the loop. I haven't really done a lot of research this week, so I'm gonna lean on the haulers in the chat to give us insight, to give us their perspective, and on you, Nima. But just like overview here. First of all, I guess let's talk about the Trent injury and how, I have no idea how that's going to shake out. I could see, you could see Bradley starting to take advantage of the space left by Reguilon, right? Or you could see Gomez starting to deal with the headed threat from set pieces from Brentford. So, but either way makes sense here for Klopp.
You could argue it either way, right?
Yeah. I think it's an equal argument either
That is
way.
important for me, because I can't afford Van Dijk. So I think what I would say, if I was going to go for the defensive pick, it's not necessarily this game I'd be getting the clean sheet for. So again, it sounds like the next G for the Luton game as well isn't below 1 anyway for Luton, but that would be maybe the game I'd be considering a clean sheet in more regardless, I think. So if I was to get a Liverpool pick, Van Dijk's like the only one. I feel like if money's no problem, like then I wouldn't question getting him if it doesn't hurt you too much for 26 and getting 10 or 11 players out with a transfer. However, I can't afford him if I want someone like KDB or even Salah potentially, which we'll talk about here as well. So not only is Bradley starting, is Gomez starting, is kind of like Konate's back as well from his suspension. Is he going to start both or just one? There's a lot of risks here. Robertson's back, but then so is Tsimikas, who's going to start those. So it kind of does feel like Van Dijk's the only one that's safe, but equally, would it completely shock you if Van Dijk himself also got reduced minutes versus someone, a Brentford or a Luton before the cup final? Yes. Okay, so he's definitely then one level above the rest, right? So he's like the tier 1 pick in defense, and every other
he's
Liverpool
the minutes
defender.
Pick. If you want minutes, you get Van Dijk. But the thing is, it's a hefty price to pay for those minutes, right?
Alisson's like 6.4 gives you minutes as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you want the minutes, go Alisson, right?
So I'm looking at the upside, right? So I'm looking at like a Bradley, because I can't afford a Van Dijk. So if I was to go there, I look at a Bradley and I got to compare him against, again, I can't afford Saliba either, so double up on the Arsenal defense. So it leaves me with double game weekers like Reguilon, Doughty. But the reality is, like, do I want some of those players this week? Like, do I want to be starting them this week? And I don't know if I do. And Bradley, I think for me, the question isn't if he can start both games and the cup final. I think he's perfectly capable to play all 3 and start them. Maybe get an early sub against Luton if they're winning comprehensively. My concern with him is he in the right headspace to start straight away back against Brentford when there is a tactical setup as well, like you say, for Gomez coming in and like protecting against the set piece threats a bit more. So I know leaks is now this thing that just seems to be the way I'm playing FPL. And I know for you it won't work because you got 4 a.m. deadline. But if I was to see, like, say, Bradley starts tomorrow and I was convinced it was accurate, I would definitely be going for him, even if I could afford Van Dijk. So I just feel like the upside there is very exciting. And I'm happy to just rot him on my bench after or deal with it whenever needed. But Yeah, so that's my just
So
2 cents there. But what do you think about him being ready to be back? Because I think that's the only fear is he misses the first game because he's not mentally ready yet. He's only like he hadn't even trained. He's just come back into the group.
I don't think that's a conversation that there's no
We
point
can't
getting
really
into that
know about it.
conversation.
Yeah.
We'll
So
never
what we
like
do
we
know is
don't
on the
know about that.
tactical
Like
side then. So do you think there's enough in it that would benefit him
here's
starting tactically?
here's what I would say. Like there's equal risk that he doesn't start in either one because of the tactical situation, right? Because what do Luton do? It's Doughty sending balls in, corners, crosses, Adebayo far post. Adebayo on that far, on either post, and now with Carlton Morris coming into the fray as well, like they if they need Gomez for Brentford, maybe they need Gomez for Luton as well.
But my thought is that they want him for the cup final against Chelsea, so they'll want him to at least have started a game before then, and therefore I think the Luton game's more likely, and it's more likely that if there was going to be minutes shed, I don't think he starts tomorrow. So that's why for
They'll
me it
need
would take a
wait,
leak. Bradley. So I don't think Bradley starts tomorrow no matter what. And I think
but,
he starts the second game because of wanting to prep him to start one before the cup final, because I think he'll get the nod in
what
that
makes
one
you
as
think
well.
that he starts the cup final?
I just think he played quite well against them earlier before obviously he went away. Like when he had that game against them in the league, like I really thought that it made Liverpool look a lot better with him there. Now he's only had a handful of Premier League games. I think he's had 2 Prem games, 4 appearances in total. So he is an unknown. Like there is no guarantees that he can even start the games, as you say, or haul. I think a lot of it is wishful thinking.
Yeah, and
I found the solution before the problem for this one. It's like Bradley's the solution, and I'm trying to force him into my team. But the thing is, like, I don't need to do that. Like, I have players who will definitely start.
Bradley could be the problem.
Without realizing, yeah,
yeah, it could be the problem. So, like, what I'll say, like, I think
what
if
do you think about the
Bradley
attackers
starts
as well? By the way, after
well, if Bradley starts against Brentford, I think he starts against Luton. Because it's the same risk, right? So then that means I think if he starts against Brentford, and again, I'm just kind of guessing here, right? Then that kind of tells me that Klopp wants that attacking threat more than the set piece protection. So if he doesn't think that he needs a set piece protection against Brentford, then does he need it against Luton, who he'll score on more easily? Probably not. He'll want the attacking threat against Luton as well. So, if it suits you, if it works for you to like get leaks and stuff like that, then it's definitely going to help.
And there might be no leak. So if there was no leak, I wouldn't buy him. I don't think. That's what I mean. I would need a leak.
Leaks,
That's how unconvinced I am. Yeah.
Like I told you, like I refuse to play FPL like that. Like I'm not going to. I'm not gonna I wake up.
Take your life hostage and lose that couple of hours.
Yeah, I'll wake up at 4:30 a.m. to catch the 5 a.m. game, right? But I'm not gonna wake up at like 3 for an FPL deadline. So like whatever happens, happens. But yeah, let's get to the attackers because that's more fun, right? Let's talk
So I think
Jota.
So obviously with the news today in the presser that Salah is back essentially, and like he's obviously therefore in contention because he's training with the team, full team training. So again, the talk seems to be that he will probably get minutes off the bench here, start Luton, sub early, start cup final. There's a part of me that thinks if he's fit and able to play, he just plays all 3 and he plays good minutes in most of them. I just think he's a fitness freak. Now, I think depending on the type of injury he's coming back from, maybe you would tell me that there's more reason to urge on caution and there's no need to kind of rush him into these games. But again, similarly, I sold him last week and I'm kicking myself because I bought Jota last week. And had I not done that and just saved the transfer, I would have got Gross's 10-pointer. And now this week, I wouldn't be buying Jota. I have him. He's great, but I wouldn't be buying him this week just with that kind of Salah being added into the mix. So I just think the minutes are not going to be as good for both Darwin and Jota because I don't see Luis Diaz being displaced from the left. So I do wonder if I was a new buyer and I was going to go get the midfield, I'm interested to hear what you think about Luis Diaz because I know you generally like him, but equally, I just think he might be more secure on that left. And then kind of it's between Jota and Darwin who plays up top with Salah on the right. So I think that kind of worries me. And I'm a Jota owner and Darwin owner right now. And I think both of them could be impacted with their expected minutes definitely going down with Salah's return for the double. So that kind of puts me off any captaincy of any Liverpool attacker this week, I'll be honest with you. Before they were an interesting option, but it's kind of just put me off. With the cup final, there's too many factors.
I think it's good thinking to like maybe like it's risk enough to stay off a captaincy there, but I don't know. I don't know where this is coming from. That Luis Diaz is more nailed than any of the other ones. I see them like if and when Salah returns, right? That either one of those three, like all three of them, will probably have some kind of rotation. And I think the preference would actually be, you know, especially given the results over the past month, like Jota starts. Jota's the 9, and then it's maybe between like Diaz and Darwin. I mean, again, like I'll get to Darwin in a second, but here's like just to get to Salah really quickly. Salah's coming off a pretty bad hamstring injury, right? So it was a hamstring strain. I think it was like a grade 2 or something like that, which is a partial tear. Now he could be a fitness freak or whatever, but it just depends on how quickly the muscle is healing, right? And if it's healed, it's healed, and if it's not, but we know what happens when you rush back hamstring injuries, right? I mean, the rate of recurrence for hamstring injuries is through the roof. So I don't think Salah will be rushed back. I think that's more of an FPL Twitter narrative than any actual football stuff.
Yeah. Like
People
any
saying like,
logic in
oh,
my brain says it's not right. And especially with what just happened with Trent and the recurrence of the same injury because he was rushed, as they said, maybe before he was ready. Surely that makes
yeah,
them extra cautious, and with the cup final coming. So again, it just kind of feels like it's even more a punt than Bradley in my eyes, because just the sheer cost compared to Bradley. At least with Bradley, if it goes, you know, pair up, tits up or whatever, like I'll just it happens. But
he can
the
run on
rest
your
of my
bench.
money's
Yeah.
in my team. Yeah, like with this, it's like okay, then he blanks in 26, then he blanks again potentially, well,
And
most
if
likely.
if you think like through Klopp's eyes, like he wants that silverware. He's gonna
Yeah,
risk Salah and
in his
against
last
Brentford or
season.
Luton. No, I don't think so. I think I think he thinks he can take care of Brentford and Luton without Salah. Given the way they've been playing recently. Maybe he'll need the help of Connor Bradley. Maybe he'll need to do some different things, but he'll want Salah for the cup final, in my opinion.
I think
So
Salah
maybe
though is
Salah,
quite demanding of minutes. So like it's like we remember when he asked last week, he said,
but
"Oh, he
it's
should
not
be
that
back in
it's
training next week," and he said,
yeah,
"But
but that's
Salah,
not
if you
really
ask
how
Salah,
it. But it doesn't work that way. Like it's the medical team that says if he's fit or if he's not fit. Salah can,
yeah." So
I mean,
they've
Salah
said
can
it, right? So they've
he
cleared him. That's the thing, I guess. So they've cleared him. So
I
then
don't.
it's
Oh,
like,
I see. I don't
why
know. Like
would?
I said,
Oh
I'm out
yeah,
of the
yeah,
loop.
yeah. So he's
If
fully cleared
if
now. Yeah, yeah. So he's fully cleared, fully in the squad. Like he's guaranteed in the squad. Starting or not is a different story, but he is in the squad. Like he's fully past fit. He's full team training. Everything's been confirmed, but that still doesn't give me any reassurance about him as a pick. I think it's FOMO, and I'll be honest with you. Part of
oh,
me is thinking like,
these are official
again,
reports.
yeah, yeah, it is like from the presser. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, yeah, yeah. It's quite like I think the exact words are essentially just like it's kind of like he is with the team. He is training with the team. Therefore, that obviously makes him in contention. Because they were like basically saying
Okay.
to him, like, is he in contention to be in the squad or play? And he was like, yeah, like he's fully team training. Therefore, he is. Of course, he's in
I
contention.
mean, if he's fully training, then he's available. Then he'll start.
I mean, that's the thing. So part of me then looks at that and I'm like, oh, okay. Because I really wanted Aki as the defender. I think is the best transfer in this week if I was going to get a
Hmm.
player. And the problem is, I can't get him if I'm going to try and get De Bruyne in midfield, right? So there's a side of me that questions: could a Salah and Ake mix go better for me than a KDB and Bradley mix? So then that's for me, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
there and I think I
Mm.
need to make my bed with it. Like, do I just wait for a leak? If no leak comes, I get KDB, maybe I get Bradley. If I don't know Bradley starts, maybe I get a different defender, but it can't be Aki, right? Because it's KDB. So, or the alternative is if I
It's,
don't know that Salah starts, I'm sorry, if I do know he starts, then just get Salah and Aki. It's like get
well,
the
I
defender I
think
want most.
I think that depends what you're doing in 26 as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
I guess things are
you
so
bring
team
Salah in.
specific at the moment. Yeah.
KDB will play next week, right? KDB has 3 in the next 2. Salah has 2 in the next 2. So then you have
And he
something to
has
do
looked
in
great. So
26.
when we get to City, I think we'll keep going through the matchups because we'll talk about Liverpool again. They got another whole matchup to go, but we'll talk more about their players as we get into the next game. But
But
Yeah, I think
I think in my opinion, it's Luis Diaz and Darwin that have the most
so. You
risk
actually
of
think Jota's
minutes.
safer than maybe the narrative seems to be that Diaz is the safer one. Okay, that is
Yeah,
interesting to
yeah.
know. Yeah, because I don't think Luis Diaz has been that great this season compared to some of what he's shown before at Liverpool. So equally, I'm not sure where this conviction that he's got that left spot locked down comes from. But I hadn't really thought to question that narrative. I just went with it. So it's interesting. You put a
Yeah,
different thought in my mind.
there's a question here from Elron covered. I think we can cover right now. Reguilon to bring me joy with two asses. But I do like Reguilon attacking like that right side. Even if it's Gomez, because I think Gomez will have his hands full with Tony. So I think
Okay.
Reguilon could get something. I like him as an asset for the double, even though a clean sheet is very unlikely.
Fair enough. Maybe he's my pick if I didn't hear Bradley starts and I didn't hear Salah
4.4
starts.
million. I think there's good value there.
And I think the fact he plays in both 26 and 29, that's important to
Exactly.
someone like me who's trying to ride through without chips. So maybe
Yep.
he's a better pick. Doughty looks interesting because he's got two doubles, but I don't want a defender in that double this week. And then he blanks. So it's kind of like, why would I do that to myself? So
I
yeah, so I
regret
think,
getting Doughty.
yeah, that kind of, I feel like if I am going to get him, I'll get him in 28 itself once we know who plays in 29. So if like Bournemouth plays, I'll get like Senesi. If, Luton plays, I'll get Doughty. So there'll be options for me. I'll see how it goes with the fixtures. Burnley, Arsenal, and then we'll go quicker on some of these ones. So I guess
Mhm.
the question here is a single game week defender transfer better than a double game week defender transfer? So, thinking of like a Virgil earlier, he's got 2 games now and then a blank. Does getting someone like a Gabriel or a Saliba this week for less than the price of Van Dijk and getting the 2 fixtures in a row, the same number of fixtures, is it a better pick long term? Like, part of me thinks it is.
Mm.
Like, the fixtures are so good for Arsenal going ahead that I think right now, I think if we talk about the average number of double game weekers, it seems that in engaged managers, the average is something like 5.6, 5.7 double game
Mhm.
weekers. So you see a lot of these wildcard teams have got 8, 9 doublers, 10 doublers, the bench boosting. That's a different strategy. And I think if you're not on that strategy, you need to not panic and don't try to take loads of hits to get like a 6th, 7th, 8th doubler if they're doublers from teams like Liverpool and Luton who blank. So in this case, just going back to this game, with the matchup being what it is, so it's 1.77 net XG for Arsenal, 1.21 for Burnley. I would go out to say that this game has Gabriel Saliba goals written all over it again. Because right now,
Yeah.
Arsenal are scoring the most goals from set pieces in the entire league. And Burnley's expected goals conceded is the worst in the entire league from set pieces. So it's like, it just feels like, why wouldn't it? Like, Arsenal are currently in form, rich vein of form. Like, I know it's away from home, but I have no fear going into this game. I'll be honest. Famous last words, but yeah, what do you think? I think honestly, I would be getting a Arsenal defender this week if I had the slot and if I could afford it.
I think it depends on how you're currently set up, how many Arsenal defenders you have, if you have Raya or not. So all of those things dependent, right? But I would prefer a second Arsenal defender than Ake. I don't
That's
agree that Ake
interesting.
is the prime defender target. I would target an Arsenal defender
What did
first.
you know what Pep
Um,
said today? That left back as well. Gomez is back with the team too. So we've not seen him
mm,
much, but that's another actual left back who's just suddenly in the team, and that part gets
yeah.
left out the quotes. All you hear is about how Guardiola's out for 2 to 3 weeks. No one out there telling you that, oh, but there's another left back available. Now I know people are saying Akanji can play there, but now there's also the actual Gomez, the actual left back too. So there's always
And
going to be a risk with Pep.
yeah, and that's the thing. He has versatile defenders, right? So yeah, Akanji, Gvardiol, Ake can all play that left back, and then players getting healthy and stuff like that. So I think Arsenal defense is great, but I think they're great. I do think Burnley score here. Burnley have been improving in terms of their attack, and I think they've yeah, I think they're developing just different avenues of attack, and I think their flanks are starting to get better, and it's showing there. Actually, and the zonals are showing there. Look at the flanks. That's the 2.8 on the left and 2.6 on the right for Burnley. It's not good, but it's just to show that it's improving.
Yeah, it's getting
And I
better.
think
Yeah.
and then Arsenal, if for example, Arsenal inverted Ben White, right, against West Ham. If they do that against Burnley, do Burnley capitalize with what's his name? Odober. right? Odober on that left hand side
Wilson Odegaard,
can hurt Arsenal. So I think they concede, but I agree with you. Saliba and Gabriel are poised for potentially another a good headed matchup at least. And if they, Arsenal did some things against West Ham. I'm going to go into them a little bit in terms of their set pieces and their corners. There was a similar philosophy where they would put tall players, basically Gabriel and Saliba, up against shorter players, because at West Ham were set up in the zonal marking, right? So when you set up zonally, the biggest players are like in the middle of the six. So where Arsenal put their tall players at the back of the six, and then they sent their shorter players forward, right, to engage the tall players in the middle, and they sent the ball to the back of the six. And then
you have Ben White doing his famous thing of obstructing the goalkeeper,
standing in front of Areola. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Like you would think West Ham hadn't analyzed the videos to like get someone to help their goalkeeper out.
It was shocking because they couldn't help the goalkeeper out because the big guys that would help the goalkeeper out are too busy marking the small guys that Arsenal put in the middle of the six. It was brilliant by Arteta, really. Like, they're just really intelligent.
I do feel Nicholas Yover as well. Shout out to him, because the set piece coach, I see him celebrating on the side from both defensive set pieces and attacking ones. So he's been a revolution, that's for sure.
And then I want to get to the free kick, right? Gabriel's goal. I think it was, Gabriel's goal.
Yeah, so the Rice free
kick. You see
where
everybody lined up? Everybody lined up offside. You can't mark a player if he's offside, right? Because if you go back there, then you bring him onside.
They're just constantly mixing it up. Yeah, there's so much like variety in these routines.
It was just a genius. Well, I think it's the same concept. You put big players in areas where they can't be marked by other big players. That's the general philosophy, right? And in this case, they put the big players offside. And then what was brilliant about it was, like, credit to the players for getting the timing right, knowing that West Ham will be running backwards as who was it? Was it Odegaard that took the free kick?
It
was Rice. That's right. Rice takes the free kick, right? And as Rice is taking it, West Ham's running backwards, and Gabriel is running towards West Ham, and that's how he gets onside. But he's still not marked because he wasn't marked at the beginning of the play.
And I think he went up to Rice and he whispered to him, and then he went back into the box, and then he whispered instructions to the rest of the players, and then they all went and stood offside, as you say. So it's kind of like it just makes me laugh seeing it, because I think to myself, like, surely like people are setting up to protect themselves from set pieces again when they face Arsenal, because of the fact that they've been scoring the most set pieces of any team in the league. So the fact that they then still continue to find a way through, and sometimes multiple times in a game like this one, it does make me think, wow, like these guys are pretty good. Like, I don't think they get enough credit perhaps for how good they actually are. This is they haven't team on stats. I mean, just statistically,
there hasn't been
no one's really.
There hasn't been a display like that this season, though. Like this is like the
but
first.
It comes off the Liverpool game, right? So it comes off the back of the Liverpool game where they got reduced to like one shot on target, and City came as well to the Emirates, and they got
that's a
different. They're starting to show that they're more robust. So when you looked at Arsenal before, you could really get at them in their back line, and on a transition, if you just hoof the ball over the top, like there might be easy ways to confuse the defenders and just get in. Whereas now they're fighting for each other. Like at the end of this game, just to put it in perspective, against West Ham last week, there was a period when I think it was Raya made a save, then Gabriel got a block as well. But at that point, there's a video clip, and there's like 5-6 Arsenal players. As soon as the other player in West Ham gets the ball and looks like he might shoot, 6 of them in unison sprint onto the goal line. I've not seen anything like it. Like, just the way that this team are now coordinated together and understand each other's movement and positions and fill in for one another as teammates if someone moves out of position. It just feels quite exciting. So I think with the fixtures ahead, I actually think that they are much better. And I think it's what Ducky's saying, right? I feel this is a prime example, Burnley versus Arsenal, of a game that people are going to maybe even sell Arsenal players to go get double game weekers, because it feels like one of those weeks where just people are going to go crazy on the double game weeks themselves, but there'll be assets.
That would be a big mistake, I think. That would be a big mistake, I think.
Would you play like a Regulion or a Doughty, for example? Sorry, would you just play like Regulion or Doughty over like a Saliba this week just because they have 2 fixtures? I don't know if I would. I'd think twice.
I would try to play
for
Reguilon,
someone
yeah.
else, maybe.
Not
Yeah,
over one of these guys, but you got to play both. But really quickly
fine.
on Arsenal, because Arsenal did something else different in
Mhm.
this game, and that was they lined up Trossard as the 9 and Havertz in midfield. But those two had like a free reign to like interchange. And if you look at their maps, their touch maps, and sorry, I don't have heat maps this week. It's just been a busy week. But if you look at them, they're almost exactly the same, which I thought was really interesting. And that's a way that they're destabilizing defenses. And the other thing that happened as a result of that, if you look at the expected threat maps of Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, and Havertz, it's all along the left-hand side, all in similar areas. So I think that interplay between Trossard and Havertz and not having like a dedicated 9, but having that fluid movement opens up the left-sided creativity and makes Arsenal that much more dangerous.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think just, and we'll keep going in the interest of time because we'll talk about these players again, I'm sure. But yeah, I think the other interesting thing I've noticed is that Odegaard is now kind of like an all phases creator. So he is also
Mm,
building out and creating from further back in the pitch. And that means he's
mhm,
not getting into the half spaces Saka would want to cut into from the wingers often. So I do feel like Saka's now getting into these better positions that maybe we weren't seeing
mhm,
before, where he was definitely playing a different role in the team. So yeah, so I think that's just
mhm,
something keeping an eye out because it feels like Odegaard's involved in everything we do. And I think that last game, that was one of the most amazing games for me of watching Odegaard. Like I just felt like I was watching the magician do his work, and it was surreal, like just what he did. I'm sure he got 2 assists as well in the game, but yeah, he was phenomenal. So I think with
mhm,
that in mind, I'm really bullish on Arsenal, and I wouldn't actually even be nervous next week, for example, to get like a second Arsenal mid if I didn't have 2 defenders. So I think attacking wise, the fixtures up until the blank are pretty good, actually.
mhm.
And for me, like if Arsenal want to have any chance of competing till the end this season, they're looking to try and win all of the next 5 before they play City. So like they have to win those 5. If they don't win all 5, I don't think there is a title challenge. I think attention kind of shifts to Champions League from there. So yeah, with that in mind, I definitely feel like triple Arsenal up until the next blank is the way for me. It's just whether it's double defense or double attack, and it's worth considering. Odegaard, I think, is a great option with the new changes. But yeah, let's go to the next one. So this one is Fulham versus Villa. We won't spend too long here. I think the key thing is Villa playing obviously both blanks, as do Fulham. So, we've talked about Pau Torres this week. He's not yet actually played a minute since being back. So that always makes me uneasy. There's loads of injuries to Villa. We've obviously had confirmation of the ACL for Kamara. So that leaves a big hole there in the midfield. We've got Diego
Yeah.
Carlos is now out as well, I believe, for a couple of weeks. Got maybe a hamstring issue there. You got Constance still out. So I kind of look at it now. I'm like, do I want to invest in here? I have Watkins away at Fulham, and that's great, but I don't know if I'd be looking to buy a defender. I think people who are doing it and praying are just like, I just think it's so destabilizing, all these injuries. I think Fulham could nick it here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Villa have become, with all those injuries, Villa are a hard avoid. Even Watkins, like if you own
Mm.
him, you keep him. Obviously, the fixtures are still good, and he could still get something. But I think that how we were trying to make decisions between like a multitude of forwards, like who's better, Watkins or Tony or Solanke or Darwin, and which I think this knocks Watkins down kind of below that tier. So obviously, if you have the assets, Villa assets and stuff, I don't know. It depends on what you can get for them. Like if you're sitting there with a Watkins and you don't have Darwin and you want Darwin for the double, I think that's fair enough.
You would do
But
it even though they're blank because they get the same amount of
it,
fixtures ultimately, right?
yeah, it's the same amount of fixtures, and it
But the
depends what your plans
ceiling.
are, right?
Yeah, I know what you
Yeah,
mean.
and
I
and
feel like with
the
Watkins right now, I can't see a huge haul with what's happened to Villa. I think Douglas Luiz could potentially have implications on his positioning. He could end up not playing as advanced, now having to go back into that 6 role with Kamara out. So I just feel like it disrupts a lot of stuff and it makes them an avoid for me. Fulham, though, 1.87 net XG to Villa's 1.32. So the metric seems to
yeah.
also be with Fulham here. So shout out to Combe as well, one of our super haulers who he'll be very happy as a Fulham fan to see that. But yeah, should we is there, I guess one thing I do want to ask actually before we go, just to make an FPL relevant question. I've seen some who own Moreno are looking to move him on. Is that just because of fear of like the minutes being shared with Lucas Dean, or like because I don't know if I had a Villa defender right now, I wouldn't necessarily be actively looking to sell them, but it equally feels like maybe it's an opportunity to attack and notice this destabilizing moment. So
I
similarly,
wouldn't want
Giannis
to.
in the chat asks about, is Moreno playable here?
I mean, yeah, I guess it depends who else you have. Like, you should have some Arsenal defense, right? Like you probably have doublers. You probably have so I don't know. He's playable, but he's not a choice pick. I'd say he's probably not a choice pick here. I think Villa defense is a kind of like fire sale.
Fine.
I
Okay,
I
so it
don't
is
I
an
don't see them
exit.
keeping
It's an
many
exit.
clean sheets. It's
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 a
it's
big
an
exit.
exit for Villa. Yeah. But again, it depends what you can get and what your plan was and stuff. Like say you had Villa to play them against Sheffield United in 26, right? Then
Yeah.
it's not an exit.
That's
So
what I
it
mean. Yeah,
just
it's tough. But is it an entry? Because for me, it's like, do you bring one
definitely
in
not
like
an
next?
entry.
Okay, not an
No way.
entry. Shout out to C Hunt as well, sup QTs. So yeah, we'll keep starring your questions as we go. We'll come back to the Watkins Tony question for the hit later. I think let's just keep going for now because we will talk about a lot of these players in the Q&A, and let's make up some
Mhm.
time here with some of these fixtures, and then we'll spend more time on the Q&A instead, right? So
Right on.
Newcastle
And we do
NetxG
have 2 extra
1.95.
fixtures, so we do have to crank
Yeah,
through
yeah,
them.
I was gonna say. So definitely the next 3 or 4, I'm gonna be like doing this one was 4 minutes. I'm gonna keep them. Some of the ones before were 10 to 15 minutes. So we're gonna definitely be speeding up. But Newcastle 1.95 next G to Bournemouth's 1.77. What do you say to Gordon and Trippier owners here this week? Do things
I
look
mean,
good? Dominic Solanke?
start your attacking assets, right? Both teams to score, maybe a couple here, nice 2-2, two teams that can't defend. Newcastle keep losing defenders, keep losing midfielders. Yeah, start them all. I'm excited for I think Gordon gets something. I think um I gotta be honest, I can't figure Solanke out. He's going to be unavoidable in a couple of game weeks. But it seems like in those games where you get really excited about him, I don't know. He's he's disappointed in a couple of them. So I'm not really sure. But what I like about Bournemouth here is if Tavernier plays on that left hand side, I think Tavernier and Solanke hook up for some good production here in this one against Newcastle.
Could Tavernier
That
be an
left hand
interesting
side,
pick? Because, Bournemouth could be
yeah,
the team that get a game week in 29. You could maybe use them as an interesting option with the double they have, obviously, in 28. I just feel like maybe this week isn't the entry point, and it's kind of
right.
like once before the double in 28, if they do definitely play in 29, I think Tavernier will become a
Mhm.
really interesting and popular pick. And that's why I'm kind of nervous about going into like a Douglas Luiz in say game week 26 as like a Jota or Palmer replacement or something, and then actually getting to 28 and being like, why do I have Douglas Luiz and he's playing like as a six now with all the injuries, and Tavernier has a double and he doesn't blank? But I went Douglas Luiz just because he doesn't blank in 29, not thinking about
Yeah.
what's happened to Villa right now. So I think maybe you're right. This gives me food for thought in terms of who to target. For Newcastle, do you have
And
any
really
thoughts on
quickly,
Barnes?
here's another. Yeah, there. I was gonna throw that up there too. We're on the same page here. Shaz asks thoughts on Barnes. I'm really excited to see Harvey Barnes in play starting for Newcastle. To be honest, I want to see what Newcastle look like with Barnes on the left and Gordon on the right. I think they're. I don't know. I have a feeling that it's going to work really well, and their attack is going to be quite explosive. And maybe account for some of those defensive frailties that they're experiencing these days. So I think Barnes could be a pick that was maybe as good or close to as good as Gordon has been. So
It will be
definitely
interesting to
keep an eye on
see.
him.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. And I think obviously there's been news as well that Callum Wilson's having a surgery, I believe, on his pecs. So I think that's what the injury was. It sounds
Mm.
like it was something in the upper body that he hurt. So, yeah, he's looking like he's going to be out for 8 to 12 weeks, they're saying. So, I don't know if we'll see. He might
Mm.
be retiring from Newcastle for good at this stage. Who knows, honestly. But, yes, I wonder what impact that will have on them as well. So, I think they're a watch and see as well. I'm not too keen to go there now. I now have Dubravka. Seeing this NetxG, I'm wondering if, like, actually, like Areola, even though West Ham are away at Forest, if that's maybe better. So when we get to that matchup, I'm interested to see because
Mm.
this does not look good, like a 1.77 next G for Bournemouth against Dubravka. And I do wonder if I'm letting the home fixture weigh too heavily for me here rather than actually the fact that surely West Ham have got to bounce back from that embarrassment against Arsenal. Like, those players will never want to see a repeat of something like that in their career. So I think last time they got battered so badly, they went on a run where they just like somehow got clean sheet after clean sheet every week. So hopefully they bounce back the
Yeah,
same
it's
way.
true. It's true.
Maybe I need to reassess my Dubravka pick here. It doesn't look Trippier I'd still like based on what you said about the attack, but I think I need to rethink it. And wow, as if by magic, it's the
There
exact
you
game
go.
that naturally goes into it, which is Forest versus West Ham. So this one isn't too great either. I think nothing is great for a clean sheet this week, but Forest are 1.54 NetxG and West Ham are 1.42. Yeah, that still looks kind of bad for Areola too. I'm not going to lie. The left zonal for Forest flies up at 4.3. I'm wondering if you think that could be like a tactical matchup that West Ham are going to struggle with here. Because West Ham have looked really poor, but surely they've got to like play for some pride now. Their position in the table is decent. It's crazy when you look at how they're playing right now and then like look at, oh, actually, they're doing pretty well on the table. They're not even like close to a threat of like relegation. Like
Mm.
these guys could fight for Europe. I feel like they're missing that striker. Like, I feel like not having had Antonio, even though we laugh about him spearheading the attack is so important. And I actually do think
Is
that
he back?
it's not. He should be. Like, I'll look into that.
I
But
think
yeah, I
he's
think
back.
let me have a look at
Yeah.
today's.
While you have a look, I'll just take a look at this one. Like Forest have, especially at home under Nuno, Forest they've been scoring their goals, right? So they get between 1 to 2 goals every single game. They do have I guess an improved attack since Nuno has taken over. But that West Ham's right side has been exposed for quite a while now. Sofal is kind of getting it's interesting because he's just not reacting quickly enough, and then he's quick, but he's getting beat for pace because of his reaction is too slow. So I think like so far, so yeah, that could be like an area of weakness for West Ham, but I think West Ham are also kind of getting healthier. If Antonio's back, then that puts Bowen on the right hand side where he wants to be. Maybe Kudus plays at the 10.
That would
I
be
don't know.
exciting. Yeah, if he played
And
there. Yeah, and is Paqueta, I know he's been out for a while. Him potentially returning. I'm trying to find out news on that as well. But I
yeah, if
think
you could check out Premier Injuries.
so on February 4th, he'd said we're hoping Paqueta is only a week or two away from returning. It's currently showing at 50% on Premier injuries and being assessed. For him, it actually says the potential return is
So,
26th of Feb. So I think maybe this week will come too soon. But for Antonio,
right.
saying he's past fit and it's showing him as
Mhm.
100% and saying return 17th of Feb, which is tomorrow. So actually, that even though
So
Paqueta's not ready to come in and take that
that's a
left
big
with
deal.
Kudus in the middle, they're going to have Antonio as spearhead the week after. They're probably going to have Paqueta again. Suddenly, that team maybe
And
doesn't look as poor, and they also don't blank for a while. So they could
well,
be an
I
interesting
think if you
option to
own
go.
I think if you own Bowen, he's a hold. I'm not
Okay.
interested. I don't want any West Ham players, but if you've already invested, I think you're feeling good with the return of Antonio.
Yeah, BW Splitter says Antonio is back. Greetings to Grady. Good to see you. Shout out to Jared as well. Stewie says West Ham are unreliable. They give up some games randomly in the league. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. That's for sure. Horon, ahoy shippers, good to see you, buddy. We'll keep going because I wouldn't be buying assets from these teams this week, but I do think West Ham are an interesting one next week because of the fact that they don't blank in either game week. So yeah, they're definitely someone I'm looking at. Kudus is a player I'm really looking at. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I would even go Bowen despite if I had the money. I do feel Kudus, I'm really excited and I hope to kind of maybe go there. So he's an option for me next week. We'll come back to these
I don't
teams.
want any West Ham players. I
You
love
just don't
Kudus.
want them,
He's
right?
an amazing player, but I don't want any part of any Moyes attack.
You know what? I can't really disagree with that. But yeah, so we've got Tottenham versus Wolves. 2.15 net XG for Tottenham, 1.52 for Wolves. I think the key things to add here from the presser are that it looks like they're going to be without their preferred fullback pairing. So there is the question of how much that impacts their ability to create. Obviously, Son is in the team again, so that's great for them. Got an assist off the bench in his cameo last game. But ultimately, if Porro and Udogi aren't there, they're both ruled out now by the manager for tomorrow. That doesn't fill me too much with confidence. I'm not going to lie. I feel like I'm a Poro owner, and he's the person who'd be moving for like a. If I do sell him, it will be to like a Ake, as I mentioned. If I don't get KDB, or if I was going to get KDB, maybe I'd move Poro to someone else like Regulion or Brady, right? So he's only meant to be a couple of weeks away and they have a blank. So part of me is like, Spurs playing 29. I'm going to want to buy him back if he starts 27. That's a good home fixture. If he was playing this week, I don't think I would make that move. I'd have to sell like someone else, like Taylor or Estupinian. But Brighton have good fixtures coming up. So I'm like, do I really want to sell Estupinian when Mitoma's back? Like, do I really want to do that? So, and they're playing Sheffield this week. Like, do I really want to sell that? So then part of me is like, well, if Poro is injured, then yeah, maybe I do just sell him and see what happens. Because what if he's not back by 27 and I hold him just because I thought he'd be back for 29? So part of me is now like, okay, I'm pretty set on selling Poro. And I just feel that by 27, they should probably be fine, but I can use a transfer to buy them then. Like that week, I'd be more happy to move back to him. So part of me wonders, is that double game week fever? Am I just panicking here and trying to buy like a double game weeker, like a Regulion Bradley or Ake, knowing that I'm going to want to buy Poro back and have triple Spurs to navigate 29 without a hit?
Well,
So that's the difficult for me.
What's Poro's like? Poro's due back on. It says here March 2nd. This one came out of the blue for me. I'm not up to date on what's going on
injury.
there.
Yes, it's a muscle injury. He felt it in training, so it wasn't in a match situation. It happened in training, and yeah, it's like a strain. He's picked up a strain. And then he says maybe a couple of weeks for him. So with that couple of weeks, I got to take that at face value and say, yeah, he's going to be back for that next game. There's a blank in between. That's your couple of weeks right there. If it's just a strain and he's saying a couple of weeks, I got to believe him, right? Like, I can't think it's much more sinister than that. Like, but then part of me is like, so should I just sell him anyway, though? And to chase that upside of a double game week and then kind of daisy chain, if you see what I mean. So like, I don't want to sell Stupinian this week. I want him for the next two, and he plays in the blank. So why not sell Poro, who blanks, is injured? That's two blanks. Get free fixtures out of whoever I buy for him instead of 0. And then maybe I'm more willing to get rid of Estupinian then, but get these good fixtures out of Estupinian in the meantime. So that's where I kind of feel like some teams maybe have that luxury of, if your midfield and forwards, you're happy with them for the double game week and blanks, why not optimize elsewhere? Like, I would have kept Poro and started him if he wasn't injured, but it's got to be a real decision now for me. I think it's my most likely transfer to sell Poro.
How much money do you have invested in Poro?
So he will cost me at the moment probably 0.3 more to buy back, but I assume he will drop at least once, so 0.2 more to buy back. And he might even drop more, right? You never know. So I'm kind of like, yeah, well, I pay 0.2 million, but I get free fixtures out of someone who's going to stay in my team long term. And then equally, I can also just buy him back and not miss Estupinian. So it's a difficult one for me. But yeah, Shaz says flagged until March 2nd, like you said. So that is game week 27. So he will likely be back. But again, I also don't want to be using a transfer for him that week. That's just something else I want to add, because part of my thinking that week is to get someone like Heung-min Son or a Spurs mid for that run of fixtures and for the fact that they don't blank in 29. So then I'm like, am I committing to a hit? Is it really just a free transfer back to Poro?
Is it a step backwards?
Or is it that, yeah, so then it's kind of like, and now, therefore, do I just skip all that? Do I just not do that? Do I just put him on my bench for a week? So that's my biggest difficulty. That's why I want to bring that up. Yeah, because I think Wolves will score, to be completely honest with you. I know Cunha got injured, but I need to check his status, but I'm pretty confident with Hwang back.
One thing,
we've got something good coming.
BW Splitter says he moved Porro up for Reguilon, especially because Udogi has been so much more attacking lately. And that's true. Udogi has been closer to the box in recent games, but I don't know. I expect that to kind of switch because when everybody was healthy at the beginning of the season, it was Porro was still the more threatening player. So and Udogi's he's just a little bit of a mess around the box when he gets like in and around that area. He's a little wild.
He seems to lose the plot a bit if he gets the ball in the box. But he's definitely being asked to play there.
Yeah, but that could, I think that could go back and forth. But I wouldn't fault anyone for that move either, especially if you know how that impacts you going forward, and maybe you don't even want Porro
Like
back.
for
Maybe
me,
you.
right? Like so for me, for example, right, it would actually fund me like De Bruyne. So that's like what it would do for me. It's like I'm zero point
Mhm,
0.1 million short of Palmer to De Bruyne, and I would need to go down from Porro to afford him. That's the only way I
mhm.
can free up money this week to get to
And
De
and
Bruyne.
and maybe when you go to bring them back, and you say you don't want to spend that 2 million that you would lose, then you bring in Udogi instead, and then
That's what I mean. So
that's
I could
fine.
then
So
even maybe
yeah,
change
yeah.
the plan
So
later. So who knows if the
yep.
plan will be the same. So yeah, part of me feels like he
From
can be a sell, but a lot on the timeline seem to be keeping. I have too many
mhm.
issues to be keeping him. I need to use this as an advantage and move when maybe most won't.
If Son starts on the left, watch. I mean, Son could explode against Semedo on that side. I think he could really take like that
I
zonal
actually
match of the
considered him, bro.
4.3.
I considered just buying him
I
this week for this fixture and then just benching him next week. It's no different to buying like a Salah for me this week. So part of me is like, should I do it? But with
well,
the
the
fullback
double.
injuries, yeah, but with the fullback
Yeah,
injuries, I'm like, no chance. No chance.
yeah.
Absolutely. I'll keep a keen eye on him for game week 27 purchase. He could come in as soon as game week 27. I pray to God
Mhm.
you're wrong and he does not go crazy this week. Because if he gets like a hat trick, then I won't be the only one bringing him in game week 27. So I need him to stay
Yeah.
as quite like I need him to just like look
Stay
really
quiet.
good, but
I
just about miss out on the pool.
Yeah, no, I definitely think he could get something. And then from Wolves' side, I think Pedro Neto, even though the left is quite red there for Wolves, now like Neto hasn't been playing on the left, but I saw FPL Black Wolf on X posted that he expects Neto to play on the left hand side, and if he does, I think that improves Wolves' creativity on that side, and the Neto to Huang centrally connection. I think could bear fruit.
I honestly think that without their fullbacks, I'm gonna go for a Wolves win here, like a shock win away from
Mm,
home. I'm gonna go for that. Stewie says Porro's been overplayed, been hobbling in the last 10 minutes of several games now. Sell for me. So then there's also that
fair.
to think about. Like it's all well and good the manager saying he's gonna be a couple of weeks, mate. And then like who knows what happens after that. Man City versus Chelsea. This is the super exciting 5:30 kickoff tomorrow for us in the UK. 2.17 NetxG for Man City, 1.14 for Chelsea. It's the Cole Palmer derby. Seller and bencher beware. Seller and bencher beware. I'm talking to myself. Ghost of Christmas past, ghost of Christmas present. But yeah, so I just don't see how this isn't a complete like the next G says it's going to be like a 2-1, maybe a 3-1, but I would not be shocked if City go for a statement victory here. I really need Chelsea to take points. So I'm a big Chelsea fan. I'm a blue tomorrow. I might even wear a blue shirt at the FPL meets just so that obviously not sky blue, that's for sure. But just to clarify for any listeners out there, no sky blue. We don't like that. But yeah, please, guys, let us know what you're thinking here. Is your triple captain this week playing in this game? I know mine is. So as the thumbnail would allude to, I have put the triple cap on Haaland. I own Foden already, and now I'm like, do I get De Bruyne? Do I get Ake? You've put me off Ake a bit. So then part of me is like, do I take that hit for De Bruyne and sell Porro? Or do I bench Porro and just go for
Mm,
Doku? Take the opportunity now that Grealish is injured and confirmed out. Do I just punt on Doku? Like just roll the freaking dice? Like I don't need a hit for that. I don't need to sell Porro for that. So yeah, I'd love to know if you think this game with the left zonal for Man City at 4.5 and with Grealish's confirmed injury, does this hype you a bit for Doku, or am I getting ahead of myself with him? Because I really like
I'm
Jeremy Doku.
I'm
It's a
so
big punt
relieved.
though. It's a big punt though, I think.
I'm Captain Doku.
No,
No, I'm
not
joking.
captain. Just buy.
No,
Just
no, no.
buy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or definitely, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
hit the captain him.
No, so I obviously still have Doku, and yeah, that Grealish injury kind of saved me. I didn't expect Doku to play both games, and now I am kind of expecting it. And maybe he won't. Maybe Foden will go to that side, and Bernardo will play on the right. Like
Mm.
I'm I'm
Bernardo's also got a late test for the first game at least. So Bernardo
oh,
himself, we don't
okay.
even know if he is going to be ready to play.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah. So yeah, everything's lining up for Jeremy Doku. Yeah.
Jeremy Doku, maybe I will captain him. But I mean, I think I don't know. I think Chelsea I wouldn't say I think put up a fight would be generous, but I don't think they make things well. They'll make things easy on City. I think City will have to work for it, and I think they will absolutely dominate the game. But I think they will have to work for it. But who's going to play on the right for Chelsea? And it's going to be either Malo Gusto, who can definitely be beat defensively, or who who's the alternative out there? It was
Oh, so I think
why am I blanking
Disasi's
on his
played
name?
there sometimes, right? Like he
Disasi's
sometimes
played
played on
there,
the right back. Are you talking about the right
then
back? Sorry, Gusto.
and yeah, right back would
Yeah.
be Gusto, and even Disasi at right center back. He's been so poor that I think Doku's going to take advantage of them. But
Mm.
I mean, City for the double. I mean, you
It's
get them.
basically a fully
I
fit squad apart from Grealish, really. Like it's still quite nerve-wracking buying anyone that isn't Haaland or De Bruyne, I think.
Yeah. I will say, like in this one, I don't think this is necessarily a game for De Bruyne. Now, Chelsea's center mids haven't been great this season, but they have the potential to be really dangerous, like in terms of physicality and will like the tackles and will De Bruyne kind of stay away from that kind of contact zone and be a little bit deeper, maybe spreading the ball wide and stuff like that. So it wouldn't surprise me if De Bruyne was just a little bit deeper in this one to give himself more space to create. So I don't think he's necessarily the one to get here, but I love the wings, and yeah, I love the wings in this one.
It'll be
So
interesting to see in
the
the
anyone that's
second
playing on the
matchup as
flanks.
well, right? It'll be interesting to see how it compares if maybe that one is a more of a De Bruyne game or not. Because ultimately, I think the biggest decision here is if you had one free transfer and you didn't have free Man City players, I feel like that is the most obvious use of the transfer because they double and then they don't blank. But then equally,
Mhm,
what City players do you think will play all three? So we say, yeah, do I get the double? Like, that's great. You might get the double. You might not get the blank when you need the 11th player. So it's like, part of me is almost like, would you prefer like a start and a cameo in this game week so you do get the start in 26? So now I'm
mm,
starting to look at it as a free game week stretch because if I'm buying a City player like an Ake, it's great if he starts the next two, not if he doesn't start 26 though. I will not that will not help me. That will have meant that
mhm.
someone else would have been way better for me long term. So yeah, that's the difficulty for me. Like I don't want to be pushed into the situation. I just want to ask you about Cole Palmer from Sebastian Coup, and then we'll move on because we're going to talk about City in their next matchup as well. But yeah, I'm expecting a City win. That's what my brain says anyway. My heart would love a draw, but I just do not see it. Cole Palmer, though, could he be the way that Chelsea get points here? Go back and prove himself to the team he left last summer? Anything in it that makes you think he could do it? Or is Chelsea
Yeah,
just too
for sure.
dysfunctional? You think he's
No,
got enough
for
star
sure.
factor? Okay. He
Yeah,
could carry he
and
could carry Chelsea over that line because that's what he'll have to do. Him and Nkunku.
yeah, and I think he could I think he could get something like I think he could fly past Ake on a counter attack or something like that. So yeah, I wouldn't put. I mean, he's not one of the top starters of the game week, right? That's for sure. But
Say
he
you
could
have like a
definitely get something.
Watkins away at Fulham, like I do, right? Like, do you play him over a Cole Palmer? Because I would. Like, I feel like
Yeah, for
right now
sure.
I would be playing Watkins, right? I just feel
Yeah.
like what is a tougher fixture than City away? That there's not many in a season.
And it could be Nkunku instead of Cole Palmer, right? I think the point is I think City concede. I do think they concede, yeah,
That doesn't fill me
on a
with
counter
hope
attack
with a
here.
City defense. It feels like
I know.
Edison is the reason they concede this bloody season. Every time the guy faces the shot, it goes in. First shot in every game. It's just like, I don't know what's going on. I was laughing at Onana all season, but my guy's the leader for the Golden Glove. He's
He's
on it. He is on it.
yeah, seriously.
He is on case. He's definitely I love him as a
He's
goalkeeper because he's just so much entertainment in every way. Like he just like seeing him with the boombox at AFCON, walking along, having traveled there to like basically like not start a couple of games and then fly back and not miss a single Prem game. Like, I was like, this guy, I just
He's
love him
like
so much. I feel like I'd have a good night out with him. Like he'd be a funny person to hang out with and have a good time. So
Rene.
yeah,
He has a Rene Higuita vibes from that Colombian goalkeeper with his scorpion kick. He has the same kind of vibes.
yeah, definitely. But we'll come back to these teams as we say, because we're definitely gonna be talking about them. There is also Thiago Silva. Sounds like he's ruled out of this game against City. So interesting to know if that benefits City or not. But Sheffield United versus Brighton. This doesn't look great for Brighton, apart from the left zonal. And who is back but Mitoma himself? 4.6 zonal on the left. It stands out above all the other ones, which are like below 3. We've got 1.56 NetxG and 1.5 for Sheffield. So the NetxG looks very close. It's looking like a 1-1-2-2. But I do think that the individual brilliance of Mitoma being there to kind of combine and help Estupinian down that side, surely this is a routine Brighton win. Like, I know Sheffield surprised everyone last week against Luton, where they just quickly came in and everyone thought that was the week for their Luton defenders. And instead, they did absolutely nothing and got hammered by Sheffield. Could Sheffield United make a repeat of last week? Everyone seems to think Brighton will walk all over them, but your data doesn't seem to think that. Your data has them pretty
Well,
much on par.
yeah, I mean, but my data is the data here represents Brighton without Mitoma and without a lot of players, right? So I think I would take that with a grain of salt. That left zonal pops up like that, not because of Brighton's data, but because Sheffield United have conceded the most chances from the right side in
Oh,
the
wow.
last 6 home games. So since it's a defensive weakness and we don't have data for the offensive prowess of Brighton, like if we did have data with Mitoma, if Mitoma had been
Yeah,
playing
because
the
the
past
last
couple
6 he's
months,
not. Yeah, like the last 6
right?
he's not
So
played,
this
right? So
4.6 is without Mitoma. I think
damn.
Mitoma could go absolutely bonkers in this one, and is one of the choice single game week players of the game week. Yeah, and then if you look at then
What about Pascal
after this one,
Gross?
well, hold on, just to
Yeah,
stay
talk
on
about the
Mitoma
next one.
really quickly, right? Sheffield United, obviously, with that weak right zonal, then against Everton, up against likely Ashley Young or something like that, then up against Fulham, who's also weak on their right hand side, and then they have Forest.
Wow.
It's just an incredible run. I don't think Mitoma's being talked about enough.
He's the one we're gonna miss out on because we're all trying to get double game week players, and he doesn't
He
blank for
could be the one
26.
we like everyone like pivots to after a haul against Sheffield United is like, oh wow, Mitoma, he exists. We
Yeah,
forgot
next
about him.
week it will be like, oh yeah, like Brighton won 5-1. Mitoma got 21 points. I'm gonna buy him instead of buying Hwang or Bowen or someone. It's like all the attention might shift. So I think if you're not buying
And
him this
then
week, he's another one you want to keep quiet because you don't want people to pile into him just because of the
yeah,
haul. Like, you almost want to keep it secret.
yeah, he's not going to be secret after this match, I don't think. But then to get to your gross question, I think it's similar. Like Sheffield United are weak between the lines when they play that deep back five. So in front of that back five, Gross could get something from there. Everton, not so much. That midfield will be pretty jammed for against Everton. Fulham, you have Palhinha, so again, not so much. And then Forest, I think it's good again. So I think it's a bit of a mixed bag for Gross. And then Shaz asks, he mentions Esto might be rotated with Lamptey. I don't think that. I
No, so
don't think
now
that.
Lamperty's minutes have got worse because now that
Yeah,
Hinshelwood's out, and it sounds like, I don't know if it's all season, but the rumor was it was all season. A leak came out the day before, and then in the official Athletic, they were like, "Oh my god, his season could be done." So with him gone, you suddenly then kind of need a Stupinian at left back because before
yeah,
Lamperty would play at left back ahead of him, but now Lamperty's playing at right back with Hinshelwood out. And there are times as well when Veltman could play at right back and he tucks in nicely into the back line to allow
yeah,
Stupinian to go further forward. So there's a world now where the tactic would be Stupinian plays as like a left centre back or a left back, and you have Lamptey pairing him at right back, or Veltman comes in at right back to unlock a system where Stupinian goes all the way up to the wing. So it feels like actually like Lamptey and Stupinian should both see their fair share of minutes. I'd expect both to start again. And it's all to do with Hinshelwood's injury. And it's just whether Veltman comes in or not. Like, I don't see a world where Veltman starts and Lamperty starts. I think it'll be a Stupinian and Veltman, because I think they've done well together as well. That we've seen it before in the season. So
I think in this one it could be both Lamptey and Estupinian, like you mentioned, because it is Sheffield United. But if De Zerbi wants more stability at the back, then it'll be Veltman or Van Hecke or something like that on that right hand side. But what I will say also is De Zerbi he prefers to attack from the left hand side, and BW Splitter asks, he's still struggling to decide what to expect of Estupinian in this game. I think with Mitoma coming back, that left side is revitalized for De Zerbi, and that's his priority. That's plan A. Plan B would be maybe something on the right. I don't see, unless it's for a rotation and to give people a rest, I don't see Lamp all of a sudden De Zerbi attacking more from the right hand side and tucking the left side in. He won't do that. He's going to attack with Mitoma and Estupinian on that side. And the good thing is that Pascal Gross does step into that triangle, creating that triangle with Estupinian and Mitoma. Sometimes he doesn't get close enough to the box for that to turn into any production, though.
Yeah, that's my concern, because bar the penalty in the last game, it didn't actually feel like he created anything or would have had a chance to return. Now, I started Gross the week before for his 2 assists, but last week, I know he got the penalty, but it's just like, again, part of me is like, am I really going to take a hit to bring in De Bruyne when I could just play Gross? Like last week, I sold Salah for Jota and bench Gross, right? So it's like, I just feel like every week I find the reason to bench like a Gross or a Palmer, and every time I do, they get points. So part of me is like, should I not just utilize my bench? But then it's kind of like back to the question of how many double game weekers is enough. So Clint was asking about, and we'll come to your question in the Q&A at the end, and we'll timestamp it, but they were asking about, what about like a wild card when you're thinking of doing it, and what the thoughts are there. So I think for me, it all comes down to how many doublers you have. So let us know, Clint, how many double game weekers you would have if you did that Darwin in for Solanke move, and how many you have without, because I think that will make a big difference. But we'll keep going, because I don't think these players are a buy this week so much. But if you had the Brighton players, it sounds very much like it would be silly not to play them, even if maybe the data looks on par. Tactically, we don't think this is a game that Sheffield are going to be able to win. So Luton versus Man United, I think they're an interesting single game week option. Maguire, I have looked at, just 4.2 million, plays in 26. He also has decent fixtures coming up, but if he was to play in 29, which I think is unlikely because Forest would have to beat United in the cup. If he was to play in 29, he plays Sheffield United as well. So part of me is like, ooh, like, would I want Doughty with 2 fixtures this week and a blank? Or would I want Maguire with 2 fixtures in the next 2 game weeks with no blank, same number of fixtures, but they're not as bad as Luton's fixtures? And Maguire could score
I don't
a
know.
set piece.
You haven't read, so you say they're not as bad. Like, read the NetxG.
I know the data.
This doesn't look like a good. This doesn't look
for
like
the
a good
podcast
picture for
listeners,
Maguire.
it's not fair because I'm picking up Man United, but on the NetxG, Luton at home have 1.91 to United's 1.52. The Zonal on the left is 4.7, Central 4.3 for Luton. Those two light up. So yeah, the data would obviously back Luton here.
Doughty.
Not so convinced after their last home game against Sheffield United. It didn't look that convincing to me. And
Are you being too reactive to one game week? What about the game week before that, or the one before where Luton scored 4 goals back to back?
4 back to back.
If you're
Yeah, but
looking
I feel
at
like
that game
United
week,
are in that similar situation where they're hitting multiple good games of form, and I feel like they had their first choice 11. Now I don't know what happened with Shaw. He got subbed early after coming back from injury, and I know Martinez has an injury as well. But the front line, at least, it looks like the front 4 I would think is their best front 4. So I just feel like they're pretty good.
They've had this best front 4 available, but there is a person choosing the players who like maybe isn't
there
of
is
the,
also that,
the
yeah.
highest
There's
quality.
tactical issues as well, yeah.
And there's the form of those players, right? Like I think Højlund is getting in form, but he's going to be up against the back 3, so I think it'll be difficult for him to find space like he has been recently. So then you look at the wide players. Garnacho is in decent form, even though maybe he hasn't produced recently. He's still in good form. Rashford's still, while he has produced recently, he's not still, I would say, not in great form. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag. I do agree that United do seem to be improving, and that's honestly that's great to see, because it's just more challenge, and it makes the league more interesting. But away at Kenilworth, I think this is more of an even game than we're giving it credit for. I think we're seeing the history of Manchester United and being okay. This is easy fixture, Maguire, move on. I don't necessarily see it that way. So I just think
guess
this
a
is a little bit
Garnacho
of a
is someone
toss
who
up.
you would look at playing, whereas maybe a Maguire is not a buy this week. Maybe it's more of a buy next week in the actual blank. Like
Yeah,
this week,
you
you
know
still
who
target someone else.
you know who I really like actually for United in this fixture, and it's a weakness that Luton has had all season. Luton, they are weak between the lines, and I think Bruno Fernandes could just explode in this one, and then all of a sudden we'll be like, Bruno's back. So I think he could be a really really interesting. Yeah, definitely against Luton. If I wish we had a daily game because Bruno Fernandes would definitely be among my
Be the
picks.
captain for that, yeah. I think he could be quite fun. But yeah, let's keep going because I think bar maybe buying Doughty or Adebayo or buying Hoyland or Maguire. I'm not really sure outside those four assets I'd be looking to invest in either of these teams this week. I do think Luton's next double game week I'd be more interested in. Maybe Ogbene is worth a mention as well. I'd say Adebayo, but I just think his price at 4.9 million is insane for Adebayo. I don't know how much
It's
Ogbene
so good.
costs. But
Ogbene has been dangerous for them and on both fronts. So I like that show. He's he's a good player.
fair enough. Dallo as well, Shaz mentions. Dallo could be quite fun. Maybe it's a bit more fun than Maguire. And if you do somehow get the 29 fixture out of it, and you're laughing there having Dallo against Sheffield United, if that comes to light. Because
Yeah,
Luton,
yeah.
I will give them credit. I'm not crediting them enough. But Sheffield United, I should discredit them more than I already do. That game against Luton isn't enough for me to think they're going to survive relegation. That's for sure. Everton versus Crystal Palace. So I actually think Everton have great clean sheet chance this week. Their next year is 1.87 to Crystal Palace 1.2. But Crystal Palace, obviously, so many of their key players are injured. This is the Monday night game. If you had like a Bramthwaite this week and you heard Poro was injured or Udogi was injured, and you're not looking to use chips to get through to that the next chunk of two double blanks, I would bench your Spurs player and just play Bramthwaite this week. Personally, I would
For
honestly
sure.
play him in this game. I would not be looking to take a hit to sell Poro, Doggy, get someone in. I would just play Bramthwaite. I love this matchup for Everton at home, and I honestly think it's going to be one of the few chances of a clean sheet this entire weekend. I think.
I was gonna say I like this. I think maybe the highest chance of a clean sheet, in my opinion, as well for Everton here. And the other thing that is maybe a good chance of a set piece goal, which means potential assist for McNeil, and potential like haul for Tarkowski, Branthwaite, and even Branthwaite himself could get something. So yeah, if you have an Everton defender, you're feeling good, especially since Eza and Olise are both injured, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that makes a massive difference. But again, I wouldn't be looking to buy into these teams right now. But if I had a
No.
Bramthwaite and you can't fill the back three, I would reconsider playing them this week.
Although I mean Branthwaite, I would maybe buy Branthwaite over Bradley, Connor Bradley.
Yeah, that's
Trent
an
to
interesting thing.
Branthwaite, and like if that allows maybe like if you have money in the bank and that allows like a Palmer up to something, it could be interesting.
Yeah, so yeah, for me that could work. Like for me, for example, I could get an Everton defender to fund someone like De Bruyne, who I'm just a bit short of. So that is something
Mhm.
for me to consider for sure. I think going into the double fixtures then, so we're back onto the Tuesday night and Wednesday night game. So Tuesday, Man City at home again, play Brentford this time. 2.17 NetxG to 1.27 for Brentford. It just like everything about this game screams a big win for me. Like two home games in a row for Man City in the Prem when Liverpool and Arsenal are there, like breathing around there with them. Like City have almost a fully fit squad for the first time this season, bar a couple of late knocks right now. They also eventually won quite convincingly away from home against Copenhagen 3-1. So it's kind of like that second leg of the tie looks kind of secure as well. It just feels like I have to have the right three City players this week, and I only have two right now. So is
This
there
is the De
anything in this
Bruyne
one?
game.
Yeah. So this is what I was gonna ask. Is this now more aligned for De Bruyne? Because I know you said for the Luton game it
Yeah.
wasn't not Luton, sorry, but yeah, you said it wasn't as much
The Chelsea game,
in
right?
Chelsea. That's it. Yeah, it wasn't as much in
Yeah.
De Bruyne's favor, more for the wings, right? In this game
Yeah.
though, this is the one that you reckon De Bruyne could make his money's worth for us.
In this one, it's De Bruyne and the wings.
Oh, both. Wow. So you
That's
think this is
how
going to be a complete domination?
Yeah, and I think Brentford's going to sit deep in their 5-3-2. I do think they'll get something like they did before on some kind of counter attack or something direct or so I don't like the clean sheet here, but I like City to dominate the spaces between the lines and for De Bruyne to be pulling that space and getting maybe De Bruyne something like a goal from outside the box, one of those types of I know it's a very specific thing to call. Last time I called a goal from outside the box was for Eza when Crystal Palace scored their first goal all season from outside the box about like 5 weeks ago. So I could see something like that happening here. And Holland, obviously because of the player that he is, he's always a threat or something, but not the ideal matchup for Holland in my opinion.
Fair enough. And do you think that in that case, like he's just going to start both, right? Like I don't see a world in which he doesn't. I know it's like just because it's not maybe tactically as great for him with the 3 centre backs, it's not the end of the world. Like he's definitely going to.
They still need him there. They need him to occupy those 3 center backs and
to allow for De
obviously
Bruyne to find the wingers as well. And like so actually this makes me super keen on De Bruyne. Maybe I'm a bit nuts to be even thinking about Salah because that was the other option. I want to see what his matchup looks like versus Luton because I do think Salah against Luton is more likely to start than the first game versus Brentford. But yeah, so maybe this makes De Bruyne much more of a clever pick. Seems mental for me to buy Salah for 2 games than a blank when I could buy De Bruyne for 3 games in a row.
Right.
Yeah, it seems maddening. I'm more convinced of De Bruyne starting too, especially with a Champions League tie where I feel like they've won the first leg already, as I said, and whereas Liverpool have a cup final. So, yeah, I've done everything I can to try and buy a City defender like Ake instead of De Bruyne. But today's conversation with you has been eye-opening, and I'm actually more convinced that I need triple City attack. I don't really know if I want a piece of Man City's defense. I'll be honest with you. We'll keep going just in the interest of time because there's also the summaries, the captaincy, and lots of questions today from the live chat. I've already started loads of them. Keep them coming in. Liverpool versus Luton, 2.27 NetxG for Liverpool, 1.29 for Luton. This was obviously at Anfield on Wednesday night, just a few days before the cup final against Chelsea. 5.9 central zonal for Liverpool. That might be the best zonal of the week in all 12 matches, I think. That central zonal right there. So who's going to play there? Is it going to be Darwin? Is it going to be Jota? What's going to happen? Yeah, I'm really interested.
So let's qualify that central matchup a little bit first, because again, Luton will be in a back 5 as well. Yep. So so I think for the central matchup that what we're looking at are players cutting inside. So like Salah with the right zonal matchup of 4.9, cutting inside from the right to the center at 5.9. That's the kind of dynamic you're looking for. So I think this one sets up ideally for Salah, especially since he cuts, like he won't press up against the back, like against the back line. He'll cut inside between the lines. And again, we mentioned earlier how Luton are susceptible to that and weak at that dynamic. So I think this one this totally lines up for, and I know this is not what you want to hear because it makes your decision more difficult, but Salah haul, absolute haul in this one now.
Especially if I think this is the one he starts. If I read tomorrow morning like Salah starts against Brentford, which I do not expect, then that really throws me for like the minutes going into the cup, because then I'm like, similar to what we said about Bradley, like if he's gonna play him in that first game, why would he not also start Luton? I just don't get it. It's like either he needs to be carefully managed and he gets bench minutes then starts, but if he's already starting, so I think this way around I would go for him just because I can deal with the problems later. Like if I get De Bruyne, I'm not going to captain him either. So whoever this player is, De Bruyne or Salah, I'm not captaining either one. So I just want the one who, regardless of minutes, has the most haul potential. And this matchup now, Oh, it makes Salah very exciting. But yeah, no,
Yeah, it does.
we'll keep going. And we'll obviously talk about Liverpool players and the captaincy metric in a moment, I'm sure. And there's loads of questions about Liverpool players, so we will keep going. Is this the summary next? I just want to make sure I don't accidentally put the captaincy up. So, yep, this is the Game Week 25 summary for NetxG. Do you want to maybe just give us the top 3 or 4 teams for the week in NetxG terms, or any other metrics you see that scream out off the page? It's a 1 hour 19. If you're listening on podcast, you can come and look at the entire Game Week summary. But yeah, just any highlights you want to call out, and then we'll keep it moving swiftly.
Yeah, I mean, the highest of the game week is Manchester City, combined with their 2 fixtures, and then they have that third. Then they don't blank in 26. So I think those are like prime targets. I think you have to triple up on City to kind of catch that kind of shooting star there. Again, don't expect any clean sheets. If maybe Everton against Palace, because Palace are missing obviously their 2 key players. But other than that, I think if you're going for defenders, look for defenders that can get you an attacking return. It would be my recommendation. And yeah, I mean, other than that, like, I think we've covered most of everything else. There's nothing really that stands out. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to mention.
Nice one. Okay, we'll keep going. So this is the FDRs from Mariners. Managed to get them in as well. So 1 hour 21 if you want to find these at the timestamp. So I'll just call out the best attacking FDR for the top 3 this week and defensive ones as well. So very quickly, we have a 4.2 actually, Newcastle home to Bournemouth. We have 4.1 Spurs home to Wolves. And then we have Everton Palace 4.0. Just to clarify, these are individual FDRs for the matchups for attack. So it doesn't include the combined fixtures for the double game week teams. But what it does show us is that Man City is a 2.8 attack in the first fixture and Liverpool is 1.1 on the FDR. So neither of them are very exciting. When you look at the actual double gaming fixtures, though, Liverpool's attacking FDR against Luton is 6.9, which is pretty nuts. I think 7 is the maximum you can get ever.
Yeah.
So this is pretty nuts. And then Man City home Brentford only 1.7 as well. So actually the NetxG itself doesn't particularly feel that the Brentford game at home for City or the first game at home to Chelsea are that great. He actually thinks the Chelsea game is better than the Brentford game for Man City. But in both of them, the central zonal for them, for Man City, 4.8 is the highest of the week, actually. And also in the first game as well, Man City again, 4.5. So it does give credence to Haaland. And we'll go to the captaincy metric now so we can obviously see how the NetxG and the FDRs and everything connects to give us captaincy output. But yeah, actually just defenses I didn't call out. So defensively as well for the week, Arsenal away to Burnley is 2.9 for defensive FDR. Then we have a big drop to Everton against Palace, 1.4, which is also positive. Man City, Chelsea also 1.4. Most of the other defensive FDRs are in the negatives, let alone positive. The 1.7 for Liverpool home to Fulham, to Luton, sorry. So yeah, so again, not really a week for defenses here, and actually the single game week defenses seem to be carrying more weight. I'm just seeing if there's any other final pages. No, I think the next one is the captaincy metrics. I'm not going to accidentally click that. I'm going to ask you guys if you've enjoyed the show so far, if we've entertained you, if we've made you laugh, or if you've just been enjoying the ride with us. Please do hit that like button. First time we're plugging it today, about an hour and a half in. And yeah, subscribe if you're new to the channel. But without further ado, let's go to the captaincy metric for game week 25. Nice one. So this week, Man City are leading the way with 4 Man City players in the top 3. We have Foden on 82, leading the pack. So I know in the chat there's been talk of triple captaining Foden this week. He is leading by a distance. Then we have Alvarez on 76. We have Darwin on 74 in third. Haaland on 70. Richarlison appears at 69. And then the rest of the list is made up of Tony, Jota, Diaz, Saka, De Bruyne, Watkins, Son, Palmer, Odegaard, Hwang, Solanke, and Calvert-Lewin. Now, a few things to just put out there for the podcast listeners if you can't see the data. So we're 1 hour 23 in if you want to come back and check that out. You can see the captaincy metric with all the numbers that go into it. The biggest call out for me is that the average minutes going into the double game week for players like Foden and Alvarez, they're 175 minutes. And that gets them 82 and 76 on the metric, respectively. Haaland's minutes in this are 65 minutes average. and he's on 70. So if you naturally assume, like we just said earlier, or that I do at least, that he starts both games, this is obviously looking at the last 6, and he's not played many of them. So the averages aren't great for him, and we didn't want to tweak with it manually. And it's very thank you to Mariner for even getting us the captaincy metric this week. So really appreciate that. But because what I'm trying to say is that I would think that if you toggle Haaland's minutes, he just flies straight to the top. It's not even a question for me. Is there anyone else in here that you would call out? It's interesting to see Son in here with 35 minutes and a single fixture, and Hwang with 23 minutes and a single fixture.
Yeah, let's start. Fadil Khan says both City Zonals favor Foden. Anyone else joining me on triple captaining him unless the metric puts me off later? That was earlier in the chat, and here's the metric supporting that for Fadil Khan. So I wonder. I hope you do triple captain Foden. I do think he's a great pick because we've talked about his versatility, that whatever weakness exists, he could be hitting that weakness because he can play in the center, he can play on the right, he can play on the left. So so I think his versatility really gives him some potential here, but also there's a potential for him to not be involved as much, where say everything goes to Haaland, or Doku won't pass the ball, or you know whatever stuff can happen, or that they don't need him, right, to hit those weaknesses because they're too far ahead. So there is some risk, but I like the shout for Foden. I think Alvarez is an abomination of a pick. It should not be up here. I mean, the overall
you
numbers
don't really
are
like the, I guess, the pick as a whole. Like it maybe was better when Haaland was out, right? I just feel like
yeah, and
things
that's
changed
where that's the data
significantly with
that's
that
showing up.
change. Yeah, data
Yeah.
doesn't show us that like there is a major difference in his role now.
Right, exactly. And if you notice the metric numbers they're quite low for this game week. I mean, 82 being the top. This will often get into the 90s and stuff. So everyone's I think quite low. I wonder if this is taking into account oh yeah, I see the minutes there. What, 175? So it is taking account into the double. I don't know why Holland would be 65 minutes in a double. Obviously, yeah, you double those minutes, and he would shoot up. He'd probably be in the 90s. So he's I think the obvious direction to go if you want to differentiate. I think Foden is a good way to do it. Like, if differentiate with a double game weeker for sure, though. While we do like a lot of the single game week matchups, we
Definitely not
that's not where our
captaincy.
captaincy would be,
Yeah,
right?
no, not even close. I just want to add some news that's come out hot off the press for anyone listening. I'm trying to look into the, just verify how accurate it is, but word seems to be doing the round from the COP HQ on X about rumors of Addison being injured with a hamstring. They say they hope that it's not true, but they fear that it is. And
What?
I just see a lot of Yeah, so firstly, the comment I made earlier about Allison being cheaper and a good pick if you just wanted minutes instead of Van Dijk and to go there, that's off the table 100%, even if it's just a rumor. With the there's no smoke without fire, so that's a goner for me there. It also just really puts me off spending that money on Van Dijk now as well. So I think it's Bradley
Yep.
or bust now for me. I need news. If a leak says Bradley starts, I go there. If it doesn't, I don't go there. I think that is not great news for Van Dijk. Yeah, I can't be doing that. That is so mental. But okay, so I think just in terms of this, I'm gonna have a look here. Tony is an exciting option, but I can't do it to myself right now. I just don't like that. I know he doesn't blank in either game week and he has the double, but I just feel like if I'm gonna get to Tony, it will be by 29. It won't be like now. I don't want him for the run ahead. And as great as this double is, and I really like him for it, I just feel like moving, say, like from a Watkins to him, and Watkins has decent fixtures coming up, or even Solanke just for a week now, and then trying to go back to Solanke before his double. It just doesn't feel right to me. So I love Tony. If you have him, or if you brought him in on a wild
Mhm.
card before, he would be. I think he's actually one of the most explosive picks this week. That is going to be quite differential. So I'm really jealous of all of you. But yeah, I can't be. I can't be going
I
there as a transfer. I have to
I
prioritize
like
Man
the
City,
what?
Man City and
Yeah,
Chelsea.
I don't know. Yeah. I think you should definitely be tripled up on Man City. That with the 3 fixtures, Tony has 3 fixtures. No, he doesn't. He blanks next week, right? And
No, he
that's the
doesn't.
real
He
problem.
doesn't.
Oh
No.
he
So I don't think
he
he
does
does.
have a fixture next week. Yeah.
He has one in
I think
29
Tony.
as well. Yeah,
That's
he is
right,
good.
and 29. So I think Tony, like selling Watkins for Tony is perfectly reasonable.
Okay,
Liver.
that's
So
interesting to
now
hear.
now Tony is home against Liverpool, who don't have Trent and don't have maybe don't have Allison. Like, so if
Yeah, I
it's
see what you mean. It's like do you want to go into a team that's maybe got like the most creative player in the team out, the goalkeeper out, like one of the best goalkeepers in the world, if not the best, especially at
and that's the
helping them
first game of the
create.
game week. So you'll probably get all those losses in there and that. So I think Tony is one of the best picks right now.
Fine. Oh man! Oh shit! Tony against a no Allison. Oh, don't do
Yeah.
so. Don't get me excited and carried away. Let's go to the Q&A because there's so many questions
All
for
right.
this game week. Before that, just a couple of thank yous to all of our members on YouTube and Patreon. So this week we'll start with the Patreons. We have our Elron Cupboard, we have Lucy and Gan, FPL California, Thingamabob, and Romfrost. We also have Mike Berg, Dr. Green Farm, FPL Sexy, Michael Rodriguez. I think Dr. Green Farm is FPL Sexy and also Gunk, but let us know. I think there's like 3 of you with 3 different names, but it's all the same person. I think I've confused myself. Super Haulers on YouTube, FPL Robbie, Greenback Golf, Harbour Boy, David Harrison, FPL Discomfort, True Fandela, and Colin Boogler, our latest Super Hauler. Our haulers, Dread FPL, FPL Craig, Podner, Kevin Rose, C Hunt, Blonde, S Scott as M, FPL Teacher, Donny FPL, Tom Gorsuch, Devindra Raj, Lindsay, FPL DG Boy, Akshay, Dom, Claire FPL Tusks, Catherine A, Harry Not Kane, Sebastian Koo, Neil, Benjamin Lockwood, FPL Rubber Ducky, Nick Khan, Big Mike, General Zord, FPL Planner, Jamie Baker, Brett M, Mark Bond, FPL Eric, Grady, Parag, GV, Jasper Singh, and BW Splitter, our latest member. And yeah, let's just go to the questions, I think. So just to timestamp this as well for everyone who sent questions on Discord or in the live chat, we're at 1 hour 31 and 30 seconds. This is all the Q&A starting now. So I've just got that admin out the way. I'm going to start with a couple of the Discord questions. I have 27 questions starred from the live chat from today's YouTube. So we will also obviously come to those. Do get more questions in if you have them while I just go through the Discord questions to start with. So BW Splitter asks, how many more transfers in do you reckon Regulion would have if the profile picture was taken with some nice lighting, as every other player I've seen? Piss poor marketing hashtag. So I think, yeah, like this is like the case, right? Like there's certain players where like they don't even have a profile pic or just a really shit pic. But that's good because if you want them to remain under the
Craigslist
radar,
picture.
yeah, like you want them to remain under the radar. You want to do like a fake asset or something, like someone who's not really an FPL player, and just like put people off, man. Like I think for me, like if I'm looking to get a Regulion, he is the double game weaker outside of City or Liverpool in defense that I would go for. I wouldn't be going for Doughty. I would actually take the punt on Regulion. I'd even consider it over the single Arsenal asset with a single game week. I know I said I'd love to get a second Arsenal defender, but Regulion playing in both blanks and a double, which I think he could get attacking returns in with the matchups we talked about. I really love him. So I think he'd have much more transfers in.
Yeah, if we're saying like nobody's gonna keep a clean sheet, then Reguilon, that the U is silent, by the way. Pretend the U doesn't exist. Yeah, nice. Yeah, if you say that all the time,
it's been a few
gonna
years
double
since
our
he played.
subscribers.
Yeah,
I know.
Reguilon.
So it's good to have Reguilon back with Borro.
I love them both. So we've got the next question from FPL Hunt, who asks, who's better for the matchup this week, Gabe? Bruno or Garnacho? Sounded like from what you said, it's maybe one for Bruno Fernandes, we would say.
Bruno Fernandes. Love Bruno Fernandes this week. I might bring him in just for some fun, but I'll probably go for a double, but we'll see. Like, yeah, Bruno over Garnacho.
So we've got the next one from Thingamabob. As someone who is very hit-averse, what defenders should we prioritize? I'm on a Brentford double up, but I might go to Ake plus Regulion instead. Sorry. So I think I would want both. I would want Ake and Regulon. I wouldn't want to be going for double Brentford defense. Personally, I assume the other one is Pinnock. Unless it's Flecken, let me know. But yeah, I don't want double Brentford defense. I know they play in 26 and 29, but I think a Reguilon on his own is enough from that team. What else do we have? We have... Okay, somebody's actually just comments. So Sebastian Koo asks, Game Week 25 transfer. Sell Richarlison and get De Bruyne. I already have Foden and Haaland. What do you think about that initially? I don't know. Richarlison home to Wolves, but then both fullbacks are out, but then Son has returned. I still think the fixture is good enough to play Richarlison.
But compared to De Bruyne?
Yeah, I see what I'm looking at what it forces him to do the following week. So I've not read the rest of the question to you. It's the plan would be a -4 the next week to sell Lascelles to Reguilon and have a stronger bench next week. So part of me is like,
have a stronger bench next week?
Yeah, so like they're already like, imagine 11 players and a bench. I think it's a luxury situation to be in.
Yeah, don't take a hit to have a stronger bench, I would say. But I mean, Richarlison to De Bruyne just makes too much sense, right? You have
So that would be this
Richarlison with
week,
one
by
game
the way.
against
That might be to fund
Richarlison
it.
with one game against Wolves compared to De Bruyne with 3.
I think if you can do that on its own, and just do not do the Lascelles to Reguilon move for a bench player next week, don't do it, because then he'd also have a benching headache. Because then he asks, should I bench then Reguilon, Estupiñán, or Palmer this week? So by bringing in Reguilon for the -4 this week, you're then going to also have to bench someone who might return. I think I wouldn't take that hit. I would just get KDB on his own.
Yep.
Final question from Discord. Dom Black Dragon asks, benching dilemma. Who should I bench? Gordon home to Bournemouth, Watkins away to Fulham, or Saliba away to Burnley. They're already playing Gabriel. So it's kind of like, do you play double Arsenal defense and bench one of Watkins or Gordon? Or do you bench the second Arsenal defender, Saliba, so you can play both Gordon and Watkins? As much as I hate to say it, I would just play Gabriel and bench Saliba personally. I like to spread my risk. I'm sure you would agree as a fellow strategic person. I don't want to put all my eggs in that basket. I know BW Splitter was telling us that they were really into poker like I am. So yeah, that's kind of what I mean by spreading the risk. So let's go to the questions from the live chat now. So we have Sebastian Koo, Reguilon or Dallo to buy in. I'm going to go for Reguilon. Zinchenko fit to play from Shaz? I don't think so. Tomiyasu should be in the squad this week maybe, and Partey the week after. Zinchenko, there was radio silence. I didn't even mention Zinchenko or Tomiyasu. I would not be surprised to see the exact same first 11 as the last fixture. Bernardo owners, what's the plan? Hold or sell? I think the fact that Bernardo is, like right now, it says Bernardo, we will assess in today's training session. It's a late fitness test. You got to think he's ready by the second game and the blank game week fixtures. So I'll be tempted to say you just kind of have to hold unless there's a rumor that says he's definitely out. I feel like you've kind of made your bed with Bernardo now, and the potential late test shouldn't make you panic and sell him because he could very easily get points in the double game week. We have, how about this one? Earlier you said about the free transfer for Tony. Sebastian Kuos, -4 to do Watkins for Tony. Is that necessary?
No,
I wouldn't.
I don't think so. It's too risky.
You've already talked about Barnes earlier, so some of them we answered in the matchups as we went. BW Smith just made a comment. Has Solanke become lackadaisical, or have opponents maybe adjusted to him? He's been making me sad. So I think one thing to say about him is I do think, like, regardless of like some of the underwhelming performances in the games we expected him to haul, I do think he has the second most non-penalty goals this season in the entire Premier League. So we shouldn't get too blinded by these few bad games. I do think opponents do set up to play against him, to be fair. And I do think he's sometimes maybe not so visible if the game plan gets executed against him well. But with the double coming, like I sold him last week to take a punt in the tougher fixtures and buy him back in 27. I don't know if I would be selling him this week now. So I feel like I did it earlier because I wanted to kind of spread it over a longer period to try and get a gain from Darwin. But like this week now, if I had to reassess with Salah back, I don't know, for example, if I'd be doing Solanke to Darwin this week anymore. That I did last week, but now I'm like, no, would I go there? Maybe not. So it's a tough one. Shaz asks, would you start Salah or transfer him out for KDB? I think if you had him now, I would start him.
Start him.
I would just start him. Chilwell. I think that was just about Chilwell playing in the back line as more. So Stewie, I think Stewie's right here. You know, I think the last City, sorry, not City, yeah, Chelsea, Liverpool, was it? Yeah, Chelsea City game. I'm pretty sure it was the 4-4. That's what we need. So Stewie says Chelsea is the
Right.
Moneyball game for triple captain. If this ends up 1-1, the triple captain could be a fail. I am totally in
Yeah.
agreement with you. Like, we need this game to be a basketball game. Like, I need to see City just going up and down the pitch and I need to see another 4-4 for all I care. Like, that would be my dream scenario. Like, I get the draw I want, City drop points, and I get a hat trick from Haaland with Foden assisting.
I don't think
So
Pep allows that kind of chaos at the Etihad.
he was the last game. It was at Stamford
It
Bridge where they
was,
did that to him.
yeah.
Okay, shit. Yeah, at the Etihad is maybe a bit of a wishful thinking, but we really do need.
But it
this
could be
game to
like
not be
2 or
cagey.
3-0 or 2 or 3-1. Like
It
you
needs
know,
to be a gangbusters game though. Like, we need City to be scoring in this game. I have more faith in them
yeah,
scoring in this one than the one after. That's kind of my thoughts there. I think Haaland will have more problems
yeah,
against Brentford and their defense than
yeah.
he will against Chelsea's. What else do we have? Okay, so we have Clint's got just a quick question. When are you thinking of wildcard? So you've obviously wildcarded, was it Game Week 24 last week? So you've set up for this kind of
2 weeks
double
ago.
and blank period ahead. So 23
Yeah,
maybe? Yeah, 23.
yeah.
So you've already wildcarded. I may wildcard going into 27, 28 if there's shock results in the FA Cup and it means that something new happens and certain teams are now going to double, which weren't before, or teams that may have doubled won't be doubling anymore. If there's a huge change to what the predicted fixtures are in 29 and therefore 34 and 37, I could maybe wildcard in 27, 28. Otherwise, I'm looking to hold on till 30, 31. So they ask, should I do essentially Darwin in for Solanke this week and then wildcard in 26, or just not do that basically and field 11 players next week with 2 free transfers? So Clint could roll this week and then use 2 free transfers in 26 and have 11 players, or do Darwin in for Solanke this week, but then wildcard going into next week. I would personally prefer the roll and use 2 free transfers, but that's the kind of FPL manager I am. You maybe have a different perspective as someone who has already wildcarded. You may be more open to attacking. Well, what are your thoughts? I put his second part of his question up as well. They already have 1 Liverpool, 3 Man City. So 4 doublers. They would have 5 doublers if they bring in Solanke. So Darwin, if they bring in Darwin. I think with 4 doublers, you're so close to not. Like, I would be looking to get the 5th doubler and not wildcard next week. I don't know if you can do that, but
Yeah,
that'll be
that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah,
Get
just
the
take
fifth
a hit.
and
Yeah, just take a hit next
yeah,
week. Like, forget having 2 free
yeah.
transfers next week. Just
I don't think next week is the
go.
ideal week for a wild card.
I don't think it is, because before 27, we should know
Yeah,
what the Game Week 29 blanks are definitively. So it's like, if
yeah.
you are going to wildcard, I would try and at least limp through 1 more week. Just get to 27. Yeah, so that's just my thoughts. Play with 10 players in Game Week 26 even.
Or
Yeah, that'd be my
I mean,
thoughts.
or go, if you want to go all in on the doublers, take a hit this week, get some doublers,
Yeah.
and then free hit next week. I think the free hit in 26 isn't being talked about enough, because a
It
lot
has
of the
been kind of
players with nice,
forgotten by a lot of people.
and I still might do it. A lot of the players that we don't have good matchups. At least that I don't have, because I don't have Watkins and stuff like that. So the free hit in the blank it is interesting. There's some good matchups. We'll get to those next week.
Yeah, we will. So I'm just starring some more of the questions that have come in since we started doing the Q&A. So I'm thinking of 30, 31%. So let's go to Combe. This game week for defenders is very hard to get right. Brentford and Luton will probably concede. Man City, what's Pep thinking? And Liverpool, Klopp could rest all of his backline in the second game. But it sounds like his goalkeeper and right back aren't even going to be there for the first game. So this whole thing reeks of pain to me. I think Reguilon for attacking returns and not blanking is a great option. Ake, I still really love despite everything else. And if I was to hear a leak that Bradley starts, I'm all over that too. Bar those defenders, I don't think I could interest myself in any of the other double game week defenders, not Doughty and none of those guys. Would you triple captain De Bruyne instead of Haaland potentially if you had the choice, Gabe? Like, I just don't think I could. 2 home games where I actually expect Haaland to start both. I don't think we'll get that again this season. Double game week, 2 home games, Etihad. It just, like, I just can't. Like, De Bruyne's, I know he's playing more minutes, but he just played 90 minutes in the Champions League. Like, he did just come back from a super long-term injury. They got 3 games in 7 days now, and then another Champions League
Yeah,
tie. So it's
go.
like, yeah, I think I have to go
I can see
Haaland.
the thinking though. Extra point for a clean sheet, even though we don't think there will be a clean sheet. Goals,
Yeah.
bonus points, more likely for bonus points. I can see it, but you don't want to.
There
You
is
don't want to
logic.
miss the. Yeah, there is logic, but I agree with you, Holland.
Cool. So Shaz, would Ake play both fixtures?
He
Well, we said
could.
Akanji could play there. We also know that Gomez is back, but I don't see him starting. I feel so confident of Ake. For me, he is my City pick this week. But let's remember, yeah,
Mhm.
like just earlier this season alone, forget previous seasons and Pep, but just this season, you know, people were like, Walker's nailed, then he doesn't start 2 and 3 Prem games. It's like every time we think a certain Man City defender is the one that's nailed on, they just suddenly disappear. So with a fully fit team almost at this stage, I just think it's quite risky. I would only be looking to go for Ake if I'm looking to panic buy Salah at deadline. Otherwise, I'd prefer to be getting like a Reguilon or a Bradley, I think, personally. Rayhan says they've kept Alvarez, so they have Alvarez, Foden, and Haaland. So now they're kind of locked out or snookered from De Bruyne or Ake. You know, Alvarez could end up working out for you. I know we've said that his positioning's changed, but he was rested in the Champions League, right? So it's not out of the question that he's the one who starts both in the double game week. So, yeah, like you might end up having the last laugh there, buddy. Who knows? Rayhan was asking about Salah, I think. Will he play? They have a final versus Chelsea. I think he's going to have to start one of the games before a cup final. So if he's been past fit, I think cameo tomorrow, start and play 60 Luton, start the cup. That's how I see it. I would need to have leaked that Salah starts for me to even consider doing something that crazy. But yeah, if you have him already, I wouldn't be selling him for like De Bruyne, like the question earlier. So Val says Darwin Nunez is the big differential in double game week 25. Looking forward to having Darwin Nunez and Mo Salah for the double game week. So Val is another Salah owner or buyer, I guess. What are your thoughts on Darwin Nunez? And then we'll keep going because obviously we're just getting close to 2 hours nearly. So we'll keep going. But yeah, what do you think about Darwin Nunez? I know you've come around to liking him to the extent that you've bought him. We both want to get rid of him. We're discussing privately what
I
week
don't
we
have
want to
him.
ditch.
I
Oh no,
don't
you
own
still
him.
don't have him. Oh, you don't want to buy him either. Okay. Also,
if I think the double is the perfect kind of like Darwin opportunity, right? Where you're getting 2 cracks at it. If he's like absolutely terrible, misses 6 big chances in one, you know, he's likely to score maybe 2 big chances in the next one, something like that. So to have both games, I think this is a situation that you do want Darwin.
okay.
I mean, I'm looking to bring Darwin in this week, and I'll sell him right back out next week. And that's 2 transfers. I realize that, but that's the kind of upside I think he has.
I think that answers quite a few of the questions that I've started on later. So
Okay.
if you're doing it, then I think they should feel comfortable maybe doing it. They're all worried about, do I still bring him in if it then needs another move out? I think maybe you're right. This is the week for him.
Depends
Cadet
how you play the
around.
game. If you want to chase the upside, this is the upside to like if you're chasing if you've chased upside with Darwin in the past, certainly this is the one that you want,
Yeah,
right?
because even
But if
you're
you're
in this week, right? Like you wouldn't normally go nowhere near the guy. So if you're coming
exactly.
in just for a double game week appearance, like damn, then like it's a pretty good week to be coming in.
But if you're the type of manager that maybe values his transfers quite their transfers quite a bit and are risk averse and you're more long term planning, then maybe you wouldn't do that hokey cokey. So I think that's up to you.
Fair. Cadet Param Devani asks, whom should I bench? Huang or Douglas Luiz? I think
Douglas
with the
Luiz.
injuries, yeah, with the injury, I know he's a penalty taker, but I believe Huang should be the first choice penalty
So
taker as
yeah,
well. So,
they're both
so
penalty
it's
takers.
not like you're benching a pen taker for a non-pen taker. Like, and Huang will definitely be much more exciting in this game. I would play Huang. I really like Huang in this game.
Yep.
So Robbie, how are you doing, buddy? I think it's the same Robbie I'm seeing tomorrow, but if not, I apologize if you're not coming to the London meets, but I'm pretty sure it's FPL Robbie, I think. Apologies again if not. Is it mad I'm considering Rodri? I have 2 free transfers and I can get triple City with Rodri and grab Robertson. So sell Poro, sell Gordon, get Rodri and Robertson, no hit. Robertson
I
scares
like the
me.
Rodri shout.
Yeah, Rodri I don't mind,
I
but
like it.
Robertson I don't like so much. I would still rather go Van Dijk. I think they're the same price. So I know
So I
the
like
upside's there, but
Rodri. I
yeah,
like
what do you think
Rodri
of
as
Rodri?
a city option in the double, but I don't like selling Gordon. I don't think you should
Hmm.
sell Gordon.
Is there anyone
Definitely
else you
not
can
like
sell? Yeah, is there anyone else you can
maybe for
sell?
someone else. And I don't like
Yeah,
selling Gordon on the one side, and I don't like getting Robertson on the other side. You know,
out the other side. Yeah, it's not doesn't feel great.
so
Like let's say for
yeah,
example, could
not for me.
you? I'm trying to think what other option you could do here. So could you just do like Poro to Ake and roll and have 2 free transfers next week and just play Gordon, like for example? And that might be an option. I know, like, if it was De Bruyne, I'd understand, but like, I'm not sure I'd be willing. I don't see personally, I don't want Rodri long term. I know he's got more goal contributions than all his prior Prem seasons so far, and he does seem to be popping up in the right places. And he always plays and gets 90 minutes, but it's
Mhm.
just still not enough for me to want to get rid of like a winger for essentially a central midfielder. Like it just feels like the reverse out of position of what I actually want.
Right.
Blue Daniel Joe asked, does Calvert Lewin still score goals? We said this was a
No.
great game for Everton, but I would not be going near Calvert Lewin with a barge pole,
No.
unfortunately. But Deal had also said, didn't Foden score a hat trick versus Brentford? But actually, he did, but it wasn't from the right. It was centrally, I believe. Someone confirmed. BW
Yeah.
Splitter, can you talk me into or out of a -8 for Darwin in and back out for Solanke? I'm trembling not owning Darwin for this double. I think based on what you said earlier, it sounds like you should do. And I'm not sure it's a -8. I'm guessing you're counting the transfers as -4s maybe here. Are you
Yeah.
actually going to have to take these hits, or are you counting that it's a hit because you're going to then have to, like, you're essentially buying a player that you're going to sell and selling a player you're going to buy back? Is that where the hits come from, the -8? Because if it's not actually a hit, I basically did this move last week, right? I did Solanke to Darwin, and I'm looking to do Darwin back to Solanke in 27. So it would be remiss of
I
me to
just
not tell you to do the same.
Yeah, it is a week later, so there's that. But I think it's definitely worth it. One thing I will say about 27 is you may wanna hold Darwin for Forest away, and then
You
go
did
into
mention that
Solanke
to me.
for
Yeah,
his
that sounded
double.
quite
Go
good.
into Solanke for his double in 28 when Liverpool face City.
Yeah, fair enough. So I'm just starring some more questions because we're getting to the end of the questions, but there's a couple more. Um, just a statement on Brentford has averaged 2.75 scored goals against Liverpool in the Premier League. Ivan Toney is a good part. Damn,
Nice,
man.
wow.
No Allison, average of 2.75 goals every time they play them. This Tony
There's your
prop is getting
4-4.
too intense, man. Yeah,
There's your
that's the
4-4.
4-4. That Man City Chelsea isn't the 4-4. It's damn, bloody hell. I'm just seeing here, just starring the last few questions. They are playing 2 back 3. Okay. I think Podner came in as well and almost like thought that they were on the wrong show because they tuned in live to Gabriel saying Bruno Fernandes is a fantastic pick or something. So I think that was like an alternate universe almost. Let me keep looking a bit. I think black screen as well. Let's go. Good to see you, buddy. Oh yeah, it is Robbie as well. Okay, so I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Considered this prior to the Allison news. Cool. Okay, I've started everything. These are the last questions. Any more questions that come in, it's too late. I'm sorry, because we are going to have to get out of here. So, final
Yep.
questions. Stewie asks, who scores more over the next two? De Bruyne and Bramthwaite or Ake and Tony? I'm going to go Ake and Tony for me.
Yeah, same. I can.
It just seemed way like I can't even compare them. Like I said, Bramthwaite's good this week and as an enabler on the bench for the rest of the season, but Ake and Tony are for more than just this week for me personally.
Yeah, and you're talking about 6 fixtures compared to 5.
Yeah, yeah.
4, sorry, 4.
So yeah, Podner's comment was, first thing I heard Gabe say is, I love Bruno Fernandes. What the hell is going on? Is Gabe okay this week? Are you okay, buddy? It's been a busy week.
Thank you for recognizing the code that I'm being held hostage, Podna.
Yeah. Podner's the one who's going to get someone to come and rescue you from the
He's on his way.
kidnapping. Yeah. Shaz asks, Foden is not effective when playing on the right. Usually Walker goes wide, KDB inverts. So I think the thing here was that there was a couple games when Walker's not played, right? The 2 games, and it felt like there wasn't really many opportunities for Foden compared to the games where he's just showing up to get the hat trick and he's getting the loose balls and getting all the shots. He's just so good at playing anywhere for them. He's so
Anywhere.
good that like you won't know in a given week or matchup what they'll need him to unlock or do as a tactic against an opponent. And again, as you say, like if Walker plays, then I have a lot more faith in him finding the half spaces, like I was saying about how Odegaard's now playing deeper, so Saka's finding those half spaces. Similarly, Foden can come in more. if Walker plays. But I do worry that in games where Walker doesn't play, like that does put me off Foden a bit. So that's one of the reasons like the triple captaincy scares me. I know obviously he's a viable option, and I think this is Foden's best season at City so far. Like he just looks a great player. He looks complete. I think he's so important to everything the team does. And actually, long term, when I go to sell like one of Foden or De Bruyne, if I buy De Bruyne, I would sell De Bruyne before Foden to get to like a Spurs mid in 27. So I really like Foden. I actually rank him higher than De Bruyne as a pick for FPL wise, for me personally. That was just some general football stuff. But Blue Daniel Joe asks, how important are players and team records against certain teams? I don't really
It's
take
noise.
any note of them at all. Yeah, it's just pure noise for me. Like,
It's noise.
Kane scored 15 goals against Everton. Saka scored 9 goals against Spurs. I don't look at any of that. Teams with different managers,
players,
with different
different
tactics. With it.
managers.
Yeah. None of that means anything to me. Yeah,
Oh.
it's a fun, like anecdotal note for fun, but that's all I see it as. Just a fun. It's like a pop
bogey
quiz. It's like a fucking
teams
random
and
fact.
these like
Yeah. Yeah, like
it's nice to talk about after a few pints, right?
Let me put it
That's
this way:
about it.
this season, West Ham was Arsenal's bogey team, right? They knocked them out a cup, managed to beat them at the Emirates, and also drew with them last season to start the collapse from 2-0 up. Drew with them to start the collapse of a title challenge. So people were saying that West Ham's a really bad game for Arsenal. We saw how that went. I do not buy into these previous record stuff. Janis asks Salah and Tony and Reguilon or Doughty worth a -8. So selling Trent, Morgan, Gibbs, White, and Solanke for Salah, Tony, and Reguilon. I don't know if I do that for a -8, to be completely honest. I like it, but I don't know. Of those, Reguilon, Doughty, I would go Reguilon even though Doughty gets the double because I just prefer Brentford as a team. Like just generally.
Well, Reguilon gets a double too.
Yeah, but then he also doesn't blank in either. But Luton will get another double in 28 when Bournemouth double, but then they might not play in 29. So actually, it might end up being the same number of fixtures for both of them, right? In the end. I think
in the end,
Trent and Morgan Gibbs White, I would sell them. Yeah, I would sell them. Solanke's the more question mark for me because I wonder if, like, do you need to get Tony this week? Maybe you do. That's a bit more of the question mark for me. Like, that's if it was Darwin, I'd maybe be more interested. Maybe Diego Jota to Salah. So FPL Eric, buddy. Okay, so between us, I did a Salah to Jota last week and bench Gross, and this week I was going to do Palmer to De Bruyne and bench Gross again. But if I saw a leak that Salah starts tomorrow, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be doing Jota to Salah. So
really,
I don't advise you to do it, bro. But I will be doing Jota to Salah tomorrow if there's a leak that Salah starts, and then I'll be getting Aki in defense instead of Bradley. So yeah, that's my plan right now. I think it could backfire massively, but there's something wrong with me. I really want Salah. Tricky MF. What's the Bradley vibes? Predicted lineups are big on him. I think tactically, you said there's a world in which he starts neither. Yeah, so I would go to the timestamp, buddy, for the Liverpool game. I think we definitely spoke about him quite a lot. Shaz, anyone considering triple captain Salah? No. I think it's crazy enough me even considering buying him for a hit. Triple captain, not a chance in this world. I'm sorry, no way. Not when Haaland's going to be like 230% ownership. Not for me. BW Splitter. I'm just going to keep on thanking you guys. You do such an amazing job. You're making my education loads of fun and it's appreciated. So just want to say thank you so much for the sweet, kind words. We've got Dr. Green Farm here as well, buddy. Good to see you catching us live. 5 a.m. in Australia tomorrow. Damn, let's go, buddy. Thank you for tuning in, man. Good to see you.
Wait, Dr. Green, some really quickly question for you. Are you FPL Are you FPL sexy?
FPL sexy? Are you FPL sexy from Australia?
We're bros on Twitter, and I had never made the connection. So if that's you, big hugs, buddy. I love you.
Because you were going to double check it was him. Okay, so we've got 2 free final questions. Ujan asks, is it worth getting Van Dijk for Trent -4 and then move him in game week 26? Or should I just get a player who has a fixture in 26? I would keep an eye on the Alisson rumor. I would have said pre the Alisson rumor, I'd get Van Dijk. Even with the Alisson rumor, I'd maybe still just get Van Dijk. I think he's the best Liverpool defender to get. Yeah,
I kind of disagree. I would say get a City defender or Reguilon, so to make sure you have that fixture. So you're not taking a -4 this week for a defender who likely won't get a clean sheet, and then you're transferring him out next week.
Yeah,
So
unless
it's
they're
almost like
tripled
a
up on
minus.
City. Yeah, if you're tripled up on City, then Reguilon.
Right. It depends what you're. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're tripled up on City, Reguilon. Otherwise, Ake I really like, as you said. Okay, yeah. Fine. I think VVD Ake is one for debate. And with the Addison injury, if that is true, maybe I would lean Ake. Fardil asks, what do you think about my Sarabia pick for the short term? I could have Salah for the double. He'll be my 11th man in 26. Okay, so they need Sarabia to be able to fund Salah. Is Sarabia that much cheaper than Huang?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I was going to say, like,
I'm looking right
obviously, if you
now.
told me it was Huang and Salah, I'll be all
4.7.
over it. Oh, okay, that's nearly $1 million. That's 0.8
Don't hate
million
it.
difference.
Don't hate it.
Yeah. Can you afford?
With Cunha
Can you
out,
afford?
Sarabia will start on the right hand side.
If you can afford Garnacho, though, I would say like just a little bit more. I would prefer that if you can.
Yeah.
Okay, what else do we have? Okay, so Colin asks, question for I'm bench boosting this week, thinking Trent and Lascelles out. What 2 defenders in for a hit? So they already have Gabriel, Stupinian, and Doughty. If you don't have triple City already, I'll be getting Aki and Reguilon. I think that's pretty much like our answer for nearly every defender question so far. So if you do have triple City, then I'd look at Van Dijk and Reguilon. So it's like either Ake and Reguilon or Van Dijk and Reguilon. And if you really like to
what
just
about
take puns,
I mean, if you're gonna go Van Dijk, you might as well go Konate, right?
Konate, I was earlier in the week, I thought he'd definitely start both. Tactically, I thought he would start both, having had the suspension and rest. But now with Kwanzaa there as well and the other players in the back line, I can just see a world in which things
Kwanzaa's
can be
second
moved on.
choice, though.
Yeah, but if the, Konate is he is super injury prone, and like with a cup final, it makes me nervous, him in general. So if I was gonna go to Konate at that point, I'm like, should I just go for Bradley? Spend $1 million, even less than Konate. So yeah, I think for me, if it's not Van Dijk, it's Bradley. Konate is actually one of my options, but I'm leaning Bradley over Konate. Is it worth a -8 separate to those moves to get a second playing keeper? I have Raya. I don't have a goalkeeper in 28. I would just get Neto in 28 for the double game week, unless there's any week you can play him before then. I would happily play Raya from now till 28. Yeah, I would wait. I wouldn't take that hit for that this week. And yes, that is them. That is FPL sexy, by the way. So yeah, so Dr. Green Farm is FPL sexy.
Awesome. Cool. I had no idea.
No way. Yeah, they say Gabe is the nicest dude on. Colin, is this stream going to go past the 3 hour mark? No, don't worry. We're at 2-hour 1. We're done. I think there's only 2.
We're about
okay, I'll take this question from Shaz and then we're out because we are at 2 hours. So Shaz, Bernardo to Doku or Poro Zinchenko to Reguilon Aki? I wouldn't do Bernardo to Doku, as I said earlier. I think I would do Poro to Reguilon.
It depends if you do you have to play him? Do you have to play Porro? Right? Do you have 3 other playing defenders other than Porro and Zinchenko? Like just whatever's the biggest need.
Yeah. I think I would do the defender move there and keep Bernardo. FPL Crop Duster as well. Happy Friday to 2 legends. They're on Wildcard this week. And final question. This is really the last question from
Alex.
Ujan. Yeah, good luck, buddy. And then Ujan asks, quick question, Jota and Van Dijk or Salah and Bradley? I can't get team news because of time zones. So Ujan is in your boat. We'll have to make the decision and kind of make that bed and just lay in it. If you have to make the decision without getting to see any leak, it has to be Van Dijk and Jota for me. Yeah. It has to be. I think the only world in which I could sanely recommend the Salah Bradley route is if you're literally there waiting and a leak says they both start. So I can't recommend that. I'm sorry, buddy. Cool. All right, 2 hours. It's been a lovely Friday stream, everyone. We'll put the timestamps on so you can come back and check the Q&As as well, and the captaincy metric and the matchup summaries for the week, the NetxG and the FDR. So been a great show, Gabe. We'll see you hopefully next week. I'm trying to see if I can last minute fly to Porto to try and get a ticket to the away game of the Champions League, but I highly doubt that will happen. If it does, I may try to be begging Craig to come back yet again, one of our new co-hosts, it seems, of the show. If I can't go, I will probably be back next week to do the show. But yeah, let's see what happens if I can wing my way into an away ticket in Portugal. That would be
amazing. That'd be so fun.
Find a way. But I just don't see how I can realistically do it. But everyone in the chat, you've been amazing. There's been 50 of you watching concurrently. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button. But yeah, May your arrows be green, and we will see you for the Blank Game Week 26 matchup show next time. Peace.
Peace.